Chapter 7053. What does it have to do with you whether I am or not? Bailey Hongzhuang was too lazy to pay attention to Qingji. It was this guy who made her big brother and Yunyin suffer such serious injuries. He even thought of such a vicious idea like being dismembered by 5 horses. Today, she will let this guy taste what it means to be dismembered by 5 horses. Qingji's expression darkened when she saw that Ningyi was not giving her any face. Lord Qingji, what's her strength like? Ning Kaiyong asked. Qingji studied Bailey Hongzhuang carefully. She had a complicated expression on her face. She's covered in a layer of restriction. I can't see her cultivation base. If that was not the case, he would not have been so careless earlier. Ning Kaiyong's heart sank. This was not good news. What if we fight her head on? I'm not afraid if she's alone. Qingji looked at Di Beichen. The man in the lead doesn't look simple either. I'm afraid his cultivation base. Hearing this, Ning Kaiyong thought for a while and looked at Ning Yang. Didn't you say that you've already found out about their backgrounds? What's going on? Master, I've investigated their background. They're from Xiyin City. They just came to the chaotic immortal realm a few years ago. They don't have any background, Ning Yang quickly said. Then how did this woman in the elementary immortal realm come about? Ning Kaiyong's voice was filled with anger. Ning Yang could not figure it out himself. He could only say, maybe she just broke through to the elementary immortal realm. Although it was difficult for cultivators in the chaotic immortal realm to break through to the elementary immortal realm, it was not impossible. Every once in a while, there would be 1 or 2 geniuses who managed to break through. She just came to the chaotic immortal realm a few years ago. She's already broken through to the elementary immortal realm. Ning Kaiyong was so angry that he laughed. Only idiots would say something like that. Ning Yang was about to cry. He did not know how to explain all this. He had investigated everything thoroughly. Qingji noticed Ning Yang's expression. She knew what he said was true. She was relieved. Some people have good luck. It's possible for them to break through in a short period of time. However, it's not easy for one of them to appear. Since they were from the realm of chaotic immortal, it meant that they did not have any helpers. It was the easiest way to deal with them. Ning Kaiyong nodded slightly. If that was really the case, then he had just broken through and was definitely not a match for Qingji. It seems that you all don't dare to attack. Di Beichen's lips curled into a sneer. His fairy-like face was now covered with a layer of coldness. Then I'll have to make the first move. Whoosh! With a flash, Di Beichen appeared in front of Qingji. It was you who captured my big brother. Almost everyone present believed that Bailey Hongzhuang was the strongest in this team. They thought that she would be the one to make a move, but they did not expect that Di Beichen would be the first to rush out. For a moment, they were dumbfounded. The moment Di Beichen's aura surged, Qingji's expression changed. Elementary, celestial stage. Another elementary, celestial. Normally, it was already very impressive for a single elementary, celestial stage expert to appear in a city in the realm of chaos. Today, there were actually 3 in Pingfeng City. So what? Qingji calmed down. You just broken through to the elementary, celestial stage. How dare you act so arrogantly in front of your senior? You're really a newborn calf. Chapter 7054. Hearing these extremely arrogant words, everyone present could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. Did this young man not know how powerful Qingji was? How could he say something like that? Qingji was enraged by his words. She sneered, Kid, I'll teach you a lesson today. Is that so? Unfortunately, you can only be a ghost from today onwards. Di Beichen threw a punch at Qingji as soon as he finished speaking. A ferocious power exploded. From the moment he attacked, he did not show any mercy. Qingji did not treat Di Beichen as an opponent. A young kid who was arrogant because he had just broken through to the elementary celestial stage did not know the depth of the elementary celestial stage. Even if they were both in the elementary celestial stage, the time of breakthrough was different, so their strength was different. Bang! The 2 fists collided and a terrifying force burst out. Di Beichen did not know the depth of Qingji's strength. But after this exchange, he was relieved that the difference in strength between the two of them was not big. Everyone watched as the two of them exchanged blows. Every blow was fatal, and the strength of the elementary celestial stage was undeniable. Almost everyone was sure that Di Beichun was no match for Qin Ji. However, when they noticed that Di Beichun did not show any signs of being at a disadvantage, they could not help but be shocked. The Ning family has really kicked an iron plate this time. Actually, this matter is not that big of a deal. They're the ones who won't make such a big commotion. Isn't that so? Relying on the help of the elementary celestial stage, the Ning family is simply arrogant and despotic now. Anyone who provokes them in the slightest will be killed. It has long been a foul atmosphere. If there is really someone who can deal with them, it will undoubtedly be the best. Do you know how these young people offended them? I heard that it was because Ning Yang and those two youngsters found an illusory form bead. The illusory form bead originally belonged to those two youngsters. However, Ning Yang was not convinced and asked for help from his family. In the end, he directly put the blame on those two youngsters. TSK. These two youngsters are truly unlucky. Only, I did not expect them to have two incipient immortal stage helpers. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't know the whole story, nor did she know what Big Brother had stolen from the Ning family. After hearing that it was the illusion form bead, her face suddenly changed. Who would have thought that the thing that Big Brother was fighting for was actually for them? Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Yunyan were dumbfounded when they saw that Di Beichun wasn't at a disadvantage at all. No wonder this brat would say something like that. He already had a card up his sleeve. This kid is really abnormal. I haven't seen him for a while, and his strength has improved so much. Di Xiaofeng shook his head with a smile. The worry in his heart disappeared at this moment. Beichun and Hongzhuang were both at the elementary immortal realm. The Ning family did not have two elementary immortal realm experts. Bailey Yunyan's face also bloomed with a trace of a surprised smile. Originally, she had already given up hope. Wanting to escape from this predicament was simply a fool's dream. She never thought that such a miracle would really happen. At this moment, the Ning family suddenly noticed that Bailey Hongzhuang, who had been standing at the side, suddenly moved. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang, who was getting closer and closer, Ning Yang couldn't help but ask, "What are you doing?" Chapter 7055. Ning Kaiyong watched as Bailey Hongzhuang approached step by step. His expression became very complicated. He kept accumulating energy in his body, ready to attack at any time. However, as the head of the family, he knew the difference between the Radiant Sun realm and the elementary immortal realm. Even if it was only a step away, the difference in strength between the two was very shocking. If Bailey Hongzhuang attacked, he might be able to take a few hits, but in reality, he was no match for her at all. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't even look at Ning Kaiyong. She walked to the side of Bailey Yunyan and Bailey Hongzhuang. The cultivator in charge of guarding the side didn't dare to say anything. He just silently retreated a little, afraid that this woman would get angry and directly cripple him. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the injuries on Bailey Yunyan's body. She found that most of them were superficial wounds. Although she looked like she was on the verge of death, fortunately, her foundation wasn't injured. Bailey Hongzhuang took out a pill and fed it to her. Then, she untied the ropes on her body. "Yunyan, how are you?" Di Xiaofeng looked at Bailey Yunyan worriedly. Previously, when he saw her covered in blood, he felt very distressed. However, he didn't know the specific injuries. Bailey Yunyan shook her head slightly. "I'm fine. These 2 days, they only beat me up. In order to attract you here, they kept me alive." Hearing this, Di Xiaofeng felt even more guilty. "I didn't protect you well. Don't say this. It's my fault." Bailey Yunyan stared at Di Xiaofeng. She would never forget the scene just now. To be able to find such a man was the happiest thing in her life. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the two's affectionate appearance and smiled helplessly. Then, she started to treat Di Xiaofeng's injuries. "I'm afraid your leg will need a rest for a few days to completely recover." "It's fine." Di Xiaofeng had a casual expression. Compared to being able to keep his life, this leg was really nothing. Not far away, When Ziren watched as Bailey Hongzhuang casually walked to the back of the Ning clan and put down Bailey Yunyan and Bailey Hongzhuang. His eyes shone with little stars of worship. Hongzhuang is really mighty. I've thought of thousands of ways to slap people, but none of them are as powerful as Hongzhuang's move. He had directly ignored all of them, yet they didn't dare to resist at all. Who else could do this? Zhong Limu nodded in agreement. Big Sister Hongzhuang is really amazing, but how did they surpass me so quickly? He believed that his improvement during this period of time was already fast enough. He vaguely felt that he was not far from breaking through to the elementary immortal stage. After all, he had accumulated strength over the years and was stronger than them. Now that he was surpassed, he felt a little complicated. Their speed can't be judged by common sense. Mo Yunjue smiled faintly. He was already used to it. Bang! A terrifying attack spread out. The ground of the Ning clan cracked inch by inch. Di Beichen and Qing Ji both took a few steps back before stabilizing themselves. Everyone looked and saw that Di Beichen's chest had an additional wound. Blood was seeping out from the wound, dyeing his clothes red. On the other hand, Qing Ji stood there calmly. There were no wounds on her body. Ning Kaiyong let out a sigh of relief. The older, the wiser. This young man was obviously no match for Qing Ji. Chapter 7056. This young man can't compare to Qing Ji in the end. She's from the celestial region. Even if he's at a disadvantage, the situation is still uncertain. Don't forget, there are two of them. That's true. I hope they can do well. Without Qing Ji, there are many people who want to kill the Ning clan. Ning Yang couldn't help but say, Lord Qing Ji, kill this guy. With Qing Ji's strength, she might be able to kill both of them. That would undoubtedly be the best outcome. However, Di Beichun shot a murderous look at Ning Yang when he heard this. Instantly, Ning Yang felt his mind being controlled. He. Ning Yang suddenly started laughing on the spot and even started dancing happily. Beauty, come on. Everyone saw Ning Yang dancing with a lewd smile on his face. He seemed to take everyone around him as beauties, and he even directly grabbed the patriarch of the Ning clan, Ning Kaiyong. Let go. Ning Kaiyong's expression darkened. Beauty, don't be so cold. Let Big Brother take good care of you. Ning Yang touched Ning Kaiyong's face with one hand, and his mouth kept moving closer as if he wanted to kiss her. Ning Kaiyong was already very displeased with Ning Yang. If it wasn't for him, the Ning clan wouldn't have caused such trouble. Now that he saw Ning Yang's lewd appearance, he was even more furious. F***ck off, you disgraceful thing. Ning Kaiyong sent Ning Yang flying with a kick. The latter fell to the ground and clutched his chest as he spat out blood. However, this heavy blow still didn't make Ning Yang recover from his shock. He stood up again and charged over happily. Bang! Ning Kaiyong's eyes were cold. He slapped out with his palm, and Ning Yang slowly fell to the ground. Only then did his eyes regain clarity. He looked at Ning Kaiyong in disbelief, as if he'd never imagined that he would die at the hands of the patriarch. This old guy from the Ning clan is really ruthless. Zhong Limu's pupils constricted. Although he often caused trouble, even a vicious tiger wouldn't eat its own cubs. He was Ning Yang's grandfather, yet he actually killed his grandson with his own hands. This was really ruthless. This guy has always been a cold and emotionless person, so it's normal for him to do this. Ziren waved his hand, as if he didn't think there was anything wrong with it. Ning Kaiyong didn't look guilty at all after killing Ning Yang, but there was a hint of fear in his eyes when he looked at Di Beichen. I didn't expect you to have such means. Only then did everyone come back to their senses. It turned out that all of this was done by Di Beichen. Immediately, they felt a little apprehensive. Such a method was truly astonishing. However, this is useless. Ning Kaiyong's eyes were malicious. Lord Qing Ji, you must kill this guy. Fortunately, Qing Ji was strong enough. Otherwise, their Ning clan would have been wiped out. Hongzhuang, go and help Beichen. We'll be fine. Emperor Xiaofeng was very worried after noticing the changes. Qing Ji isn't easy to deal with. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't even look up as she helped the two of them slowly walk towards where Ziren and the rest were. Don't you have confidence in Beichen's ability? Hearing this, the two of them were stunned. This wasn't an ordinary opponent. Qingji has already lost. Bailey Hongzhuang's pleasant voice sounded. Chapter 7057. WW. XX by. Chapter 7058. This fellow relied on Qingji for the Ning clan's current status. Now that Qingji is dead, he naturally has to find a new backer. Otherwise, the Ning clan will be completely finished. However, this fellow is at his wit's end now. He's actually thinking of recruiting the enemy he offended previously. The possibility of that isn't very high, is it? That might not be the case. This old fox has many tricks up his sleeve. Perhaps he can really persuade him. Otherwise, Qingji wouldn't have been invited by him back then. Everyone's expressions were extremely complicated. They had finally found a chance to topple the Ning family after so much difficulty. If they were really convinced by Ning Kaiyong, then the Ning family would really be able to reign supreme in Level Peak City in the future. However, just as everyone was extremely anxious, a discordant voice suddenly interrupted Ning Kaiyong's words. You shameless old man. I clearly know what kind of attitude you had toward me earlier. In the blink of an eye, you want to get closer to us? Dream on. When Ziren couldn't help but jump up. He was simply stunned by this shameless old man. He had done all kinds of bad things earlier, and now he wanted to shirk his responsibility with just this sentence? What a joke. Ning Kaiyong, who was racking his brains to think of a way to persuade him, was also shocked by Ziren's shout. Instantly, his expression became extremely ugly. How could he have forgotten about this troublemaker? Young master, just now. Beichun, you definitely can't pay attention to this old man. When Ziren looked at Di Beichun with an unusually firm attitude, Di Beichun smiled faintly. All right, Ziren. A figure quickly rushed to Ziren's side. Ziren was shocked at first, but after sensing that familiar aura, he relaxed and revealed a joyful smile. Ying, why are you back? Before he barged in, he had clearly told Ying not to continue staying here. When he didn't see this girl earlier, he thought that this girl had finally listened to him for once. He didn't expect her to appear again in the blink of an eye. Shangguan Ying's eyes were filled with tears. I asked someone to help me pass on the message, and then I immediately rushed over. She knew that all of this would happen, yet she still wanted to leave. That was something she simply could not do. Even if they had to fight to the death here, at least they would be together. Even if one of them could survive, what was the point of that? Ziren reached out to wipe the tears from the corners of Shangguan Ying's eyes. Don't cry. Isn't everyone fine now? That's right. Shangguan Ying cried and laughed at the same time. It was really, young master, why don't we have a good talk? Ning Kaiyong was still unwilling to give up. Actually, this incident didn't cause too much damage. We can find a way to make up for all the problems. Di Beichun looked at Ning Kaiyong indifferently, his eyes filled with killing intent. Ning Kaiyong's heart trembled. He paused the words he wanted to say and didn't dare to say anymore. Master Ning, look at what you're saying. Just a moment ago, you wanted to kill all of them, and in the next second, you've changed your mind. The change is really too fast. It makes people very suspicious of your original intentions. A man slowly walked in from the outside. The man was slightly plump and had a faint smile on his face. He didn't seem to have any lethality at all. Chapter 7059. Noticing the newcomer, Ning Kaiyong's face instantly darkened. Jiang and I, what are you doing here? It's rare to see such a genius. Can't I make friends with him? Jiang and I glanced at Ning Kaiyong indifferently, then turned to look at Di Beichun with a smile. His attitude was completely different. Young master, the Ning clan isn't the only powerful force in Level Peak City. This guy did such an unforgivable thing to you. It's really suspicious of his integrity. If you're interested in Level Peak City, my Jiang clan will show you our greatest sincerity. Old bastard, Ning Kaiyong cursed. Usually, he had the most intense conflict with the Jiang clan. During this period of time, with the appearance of Qingji, he was prepared to use this opportunity to completely eradicate the Jiang clan. He didn't expect such an unforeseen event to happen today. It seemed that Jiang and I did have an advantage over him. Once he was convinced, the Ning clan would be in a terrible situation. After seeing this scene, the surrounding clans couldn't help but sigh. Jiang and I was really an old fox standing out at this time. However, everyone had to admit that this was indeed an excellent opportunity. If they could seize this opportunity to grab hold of these two experts, they would definitely be a well-known clan in other cities, let alone Level Peak City. Di Baichen looked at Jiang and I. Although he didn't know who this person was, he could tell from the changes in the surrounding people's expressions. However, he didn't have any thoughts about the grudges in Level Peak City. I'm not from Level Peak City, and I'm not interested in anything in the city. I'm only here today to avenge my brother and sister-in-law. Di Baichen's voice was cold, as if he didn't care about all this. Every injustice has its perpetrator, and every debt has its debtor. Your Ning clan provoked my brother first, and even threatened to kill all of us. As the Ning clan's head, you can't shirk your responsibility. Hearing this, Ning Kaiyong's face had a hint of panic. His eyes darted around as he tried to think of a solution. However, Di Baichen didn't even give him a chance to speak. He suddenly attacked with his palm. "Master, please show mercy," the patriarch of the Ning family shouted. Unfortunately, his words had no effect at all. He had lost his life in one move. Di Baichen's palm landed on the top of Ning Kaiyong's head, and the latter fell to the ground, no longer breathing. Everyone in the Ning clan didn't expect that their family head would die in the blink of an eye. Everyone was in an uproar. Ning Kaiyong's death was truly rather sudden. Di Baichen turned to look at Di Xiaofeng. Who else? Hearing this, some of the cultivators from the Ning clan suddenly had a look of horror on their faces. The meaning of these words was very obvious. Obviously, he was asking who else had hurt him. Anyone who had hurt him would not be spared. Di Baichen's gaze swept over the Ning family. As soon as he noticed the guilty expression on the other side's face, he had already discovered the problem. Immediately, he was not polite and directly killed him, not leaving the slightest bit of mercy. Looking at the man's resolute and merciless appearance, everyone was secretly fearful. "Thank you, second brother." A carefree smile appeared on Di Xiaofeng's face, and his eyes were filled with gratitude. If Di Baichen and the others hadn't arrived in time, he might have been left with eternal regret today. Since we're brothers, why are you being so polite? Chapter 7060. Although the injuries looked serious, they could be completely healed after a few days of rest. Di Baichen once again looked at the Ning family. The people who were noticed all unconsciously lowered their heads, and in their hearts, they had already cursed Ning Yang to death. If it wasn't for Ning Yang causing trouble and kicking an iron plate, the Ning clan wouldn't have fallen to such a state. No one in their clan could fight against an elementary immortal realm expert. As long as the other party wanted to, it would be easy for him to kill all of them. Today's grudge is over. I'll leave the rest to you guys. Di Baichen calmly took off Qing Ji and Ning Kaiyong's storage rings. These two guys should have a lot of resources on them. Today's matter made him want to destroy the entire Ning clan. However, not everyone was involved. Since the people who needed to be dealt with were dealt with, there was no need for him to do the rest. The Ning clan had been too arrogant recently and offended many people. There was no need for him to do anything. Many people would take this opportunity to take revenge. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone in the Ning clan first heaved a sigh of relief, then became nervous again. If Di Baichen didn't do anything, it meant that they still had a chance to live. However, thinking about the other forces in Pingfeng City, their situation wasn't much better. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others didn't want to stay for long. Yin clearly didn't have a good time these days. Her mental state wasn't good either. It was better for her to find a place to rest. Jiang and I looked at the direction of Di Baichen's group, and his eyes flashed with a ray of light. When they returned to the inn, they first sent Bailey Yunyan and Di Xiaofeng into the room. Only when Yunyan took off her clothes did Bailey Hongzhuang apply medicine on her wounds. "Hongzhuang, will there be scars on my body?" Looking at the wounds on her body, Bailey Yunyan's eyes showed a trace of worry. The scars were all over her body. It looked really ugly. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. "If I leave a scar on your body, won't Big Brother blame me?" After understanding the meaning of these words, Bailey Yinyin breathed a sigh of relief. Pleasantly surprised, she said, Hong Zhuang, thank you. You're still worried about these things at a time like this? Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled and shook her head. Don't worry. With me here, you won't have any scars left. Bailey Hong Zhuang was about to leave after applying medicine to all the wounds on Bailey Hong Zhuang's body, but Bailey Yinyin suddenly hugged her. Yinyin? Hong Zhuang, thank you. Bailey Yinyin's voice was choked with sobs. If you guys hadn't arrived, we would have really died today. Bailey Hong Zhuang reached out and patted Bailey Yinyin's back. This experience must have left a serious shadow in her heart. Not to mention Yinyin, even she could not help but feel a lingering fear. If they hadn't come in time, then it would have been a lifetime of regret. The heavens won't be so cruel. No matter what happens to us, we'll turn misfortune into blessing. The clear and melodious voice had a healing power. Bailey Yinyin's somewhat agitated mood quietly calmed down. You must be tired these days. Eat something and rest early. It won't be too late to have a good chat after you've rested enough. Bailey Yinyin nodded slightly. Okay. Chapter 7061. Bailey Hong Zhuang and the others didn't stay for long. They left one after another after telling them what they needed to pay attention to in case of injuries. Even though the incident this time had been dangerous, the two of them must have grown closer after going through this ordeal. Bailey Hong Zhuang narrowed her eyes, the corners of her lips curling up slightly. Beichen and Xiaofeng really were brothers. They were very similar in this aspect. The next day, Bai Li Yanche and Shangwan Ru finally arrived at the inn. When they saw that everyone was safe and sound, they finally let out a sigh of relief. Yanche, you guys were too slow. Ziren looked at Bai Li Yanche speechlessly. If we had waited for you guys to come and rescue us, I'm afraid we wouldn't even be able to find their corpses. Don't be so heartless. Bai Li Yanche sat down at the side. If we hadn't been the first to discover that something was wrong with Xiaofeng and the others being gone for so long, everyone wouldn't have immediately come looking for you. Even though I didn't show up yesterday, you have to thank me properly. Otherwise, you really would have been torn apart by 5 horses. When Ziren chuckled. Actually, he had already learned the whole story from Hong Zhuang and the others yesterday. The two of them had gone to a nearby city and hadn't arrived yet. If this guy hadn't discovered the abnormality, then it really would have been too dangerous. I knew you were true to me. Ziren put a hand on Bai Li Yanche's shoulder, practically hanging on it. No matter what, we are true love. Move aside. Bai Li Yanche pushed Ziren to the side in disgust. He quietly glanced at Ling and said, My true love isn't you. Ioyo, you've really forgotten about your brothers now that you have a wife. You have to learn from me in this aspect. Ziren. Shangwan Yingying's voice rang out. Yingying, have you eaten breakfast yet? Do you want me to send it up for you? When Ziren looked upstairs, what happened yesterday had given Yingying quite a shock. She had fallen asleep very late last night. He thought that she would not wake up this morning, but she had actually woken up. All right. Bai Li Yanche curled his lips as he looked at the guy who went to order breakfast. How shameless. Bailey Hong Zhuang also came out of the house after noticing Bai Li Yanche's arrival. Have you heard the news? Bai Li Yanche nodded slightly. Right now, the entire Pingfeng city is spreading the news. We heard about it from the streets and alleys as soon as we arrived. Fortunately, you guys were faster. His previous carefree attitude was also fake. Fortunately, they managed to make it in time. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. How are Xiaofeng and the others? I've suffered some injuries, but fortunately, they aren't serious. I'll be fine after a period of rest. That's good. Bai Li Yanche was completely relieved. Then we'll stay here for a while. It won't be too late to leave after we've recovered. That's what we were thinking. Big brother, when your injuries are better, go back to the family to take a look. You haven't been back for so long. Father and mother miss you very much. Di Xiaofeng nodded. Indeed, we haven't been back for a long time. Di Beichen saw that Di Xiaofeng's mental state was good. The injury on his leg didn't affect him too much. He immediately recounted what happened during this period of time. After hearing all this, a strange look appeared in Di Xiaofeng's eyes. Chapter 7062. Are you sure that the Qing devil has appeared in the immortal realm? Di Xiaofeng found it hard to believe. He had been in the chaotic immortal realm for so long, and he had almost forgotten about the Qing devil. He didn't expect that such a thing would happen. I heard this news from City Lord Yang, so it shouldn't be wrong, Yang Kai said with a smile. Di Beichen's face was dignified. He had come back in a hurry and had forgotten to ask again. So it's a little tricky. So you plan to go to the immortal realm to look for Xiao So? That's right. Di Xiaofeng was silent for a moment. Then he said, since that's the case, let's go back to the family after Yunyan and I have recovered. Although our cultivation levels are not high enough in the chaotic immortal realm, we can still protect the family. Even if the Qing devil does appear, we still have the strength to fight. Di Beichen relaxed a little when he heard that. If you want it, that's the best. They didn't feel safe leaving Xiao He and Xiao Bai there. With Xiaofeng's current cultivation level, he was almost invincible in the upper realm. Even if Xiao Sou were to find trouble, they could fight her. Don't worry. Leave the family to me. If there's a problem that I can't solve, I'll come to you. Di Xiaofeng patted Di Beichen's shoulder. As her big brother, I've always relied on you to take care of me. I can always help with the family's affairs. Di Beichen smiled faintly. He felt a little relieved. I've been tired for the past few years. I'll take the opportunity to rest when I go back. Those little fellows in the clan should also be properly trained. Their cultivation needs to be raised as soon as possible. Di Xiaofeng's eyes shone brightly. His vision was much broader than before. He also hoped to pass on his skills to the family's disciples. Only then could the family become the strongest family in the upper realm. Xiren was also surprised when he heard the news. Beichen, are you going to the immortal realm? I have no choice but to go now. Sai, I also want to go with you. Xiren sighed. Then, he looked at everyone seriously and said, haven't you realized that it's impossible to not follow Beichen and the others? When we followed them, our progress was not small. But when we separated, those two fellows began to increase their cultivation by themselves, completely leaving us in the dust. We haven't seen each other for more than 2 years, and look at the difference between us. As soon as he said this, Bali Yin Che and the others looked at each other in dismay. They thought about it carefully and realized that this was indeed the case. Then according to what you said, when Beichun and the others return, won't we? When Xiren shrugged, I have a feeling that you won't be able to break through to the elementary immortal stage by then. Di Xiaofeng's face darkened. Shut up. Di Beichen smiled faintly and shook his head. Big brother and the others will be returning to the upper realm in a few days. What are your plans? If we stay in the immortal realm of chaos, I'm afraid we won't be able to return for a while. Xiren and the others naturally realized this. If they went to the immortal realm with their radiant sun cultivation levels, they might not be able to enter at all. Although there might be a glimmer of hope with Beichin and the others protecting them, it would still be troublesome. Chapter 7063. Xiren thought for a while and looked at Shangguan Yingying. What's your plan? I want to go back. Shangguan Yingying thought for a while and said, we haven't gone back to see our father for a long time. The Di family might be in danger. I think it's safer for us to go back. With their current situation, they would have many opportunities to gain experience in the future. However, if something happened to the Di family and they were not there, it would be terrible. I think so too, Xiren said with a smile. Shangguan Yingying heaved a sigh of relief. After what happened yesterday, she felt that nothing was more important than being with her family. As cultivators, they had a lot of time to do other things. However, when they were in danger, they had to do something. Actually, this is good. When Beichin and the others arrive at the crossing celestial realm, if they find something good there, they might take the opportunity to take us there. Xiren's eyes lit up. With the chaos ring, it would be very convenient for them to go to another place. If they could take the opportunity to take a look, it would be an eye-opener. After discussing for a while, they decided that Bali Yin Che and Ling would go back to the upper realm together. With Beichin and Hong Zhuang, it would be very convenient for them to come to the chaotic celestial realm in the future. Zhongli Mu and Mo Yunju had decided to continue to gain experience in the chaotic celestial realm. With Gong Jun here, it would be very convenient for them. After another 2 days, A round figure appeared at the door of the inn. Gong Jun's eyes were filled with tears as he looked at Di Bei Chun in the lobby and said, "Boss, I finally found you. Why are you here?" "Boss, what are you talking about? I am your man. Naturally, I will be wherever you are." Gong Jun poured a cup of water and drank it. Then he said, "Why didn't you tell me that you were leaving? It took me a long time to find you. If it wasn't for the fact that this matter has caused such a stir, I wouldn't have gotten the news. You can rest assured now. The matter has been resolved." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Gong Jun nodded. With boss and sister-in-law taking action, it will naturally be a piece of cake. Gong Jun is here too. When Ziren heard the commotion downstairs and ran out of the house. Now that the inn had been booked by them, no one else would appear except for their own people. Hearing this familiar voice, Gong Jun could not help but raise his head. When he saw the figure upstairs that he had been thinking about day and night, he immediately gritted his teeth and said, "When Ziren, come down." "Gong Jun, what's with your expression?" When Ziren jumped down from the second floor and said with some confusion, "I am When Ziren. Why are you looking at me like that?" After seeing this scene, Zhong Limu already understood the situation. He could not help but give Ziren a look, but helplessly found that this guy did not notice him at all. Zhong Limu wanted to help, but was unable to do so. It was better to let this guy fend for himself. "You, hurry up and pay back the debt that you owe me for these 2 years." Gong Jun roared with his hands on his hips. When Ziren was slightly stunned, "Gong Jun, didn't we already discuss this matter before? Why did you suddenly change your attitude?" Chapter 70-64. At this moment, when Ziren couldn't help but turn to look at Zhong Limu. He had already told Zhong Limu about this matter, only to find that the latter had already lowered his head and silently retreated, constantly reducing his presence. "That's not right." Ziren was dumbfounded. "I only told Zhong Li about this matter. This shop being smashed has nothing to do with me. This matter is inextricably linked to you." Gong Jun's eyes widened in anger. If it wasn't for this fellow being noticed when he was talking to Zhong Li, the Immortal Treasure Pavilion wouldn't have suffered such a tragic fate. "Hee, if you have something to say, let's talk nicely. This matter is definitely an accident." Ziren's smile was filled with guilt, and in the next instant, he ran behind Di Bei Chun. "Bei Chun, yesterday I was injured while protecting your big brother. Seeing that I've contributed so much, help me settle the debt for these 2 years. If I settle the debt, then what about the compensation?" Di Bei Chun raised his eyebrows. It's still a debt. It's still a debt. You might as well settle it all together. Just tell me if we're brothers or not." Everyone looked at Ziren's shameless appearance and shook their heads. In terms of shamelessness, there was probably no one present who could be compared to Ziren. "We're brothers." A warm and magnetic voice sounded, filled with strong determination. Ziren was almost prepared for Di Bei Chun to ridicule him, but when he suddenly heard such a serious answer, he was a little surprised. However, when he noticed Bei Chun's sincere gaze, he couldn't help but smile. "Put his debt on my head." Di Bei Chun looked at Gong Jun. For yesterday's matter, he owed Ziren a word of thanks. The reason this guy was willing to risk his life was actually because of him. He didn't directly thank him, because he understood that with their relationship, there was no need to say such things. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest couldn't help but be moved. Although Bei Chun didn't usually say such things, and sometimes acted as if he despised Ziren, in reality, they all knew that Bei Chun treated Ziren as his own brother. "Yes." Gong Jun nodded. Bei Chun really loves me." Ziren's face was filled with pride. "Everyone, young Master D, I'm sorry to intrude. I hope I'm not disturbing you." A slightly deep voice sounded from outside the door. Everyone looked to see the head of the Jiang family, Jiang and I. Head of the Jiang family? In the past few days, even if they didn't inquire about the news, they still learned about the changes in the city from the servants and cooks. After the head of the family, the rest of the powerhouses, they couldn't help but take action. Almost overnight, the Ning family was completely disbanded. Among them, the one who contributed the most was the head of the Jiang family, Jiang and I. After swallowing the Ning family's resources, the Jiang family had become the most powerful powerhouse in Pingfeng City. They didn't care about this, but they didn't expect Jiang and I to visit. Hearing this, Di Beichen's expression changed. It seemed that the head of the Jiang family already knew their identity in a short period of time. Chapter 7065. Back then, the Array Master competition was extremely sensational. Qingyang City suddenly turned the tables and shone brilliantly. Almost every city knew about it. He was also present at that Array Master competition. Di Beichen and Jiang and I left a deep impression on him. At that time, there were countless city lords who wanted to rope them in. However, he was only one of the forces in Level Peak City and wasn't qualified to do so. A few days ago, when he saw Di Beichen at the Ning family, he felt that the two looked familiar. However, he couldn't recall when he had seen them. When he recalled that these two had never come to Level Peak City before, he thought of other possibilities and finally came to this conclusion. Family head Jiang has a good memory. Di Beichen smiled faintly and didn't say anything else. This person must have a purpose for coming here today. Young Master Di, this is the property of the Ning family. Jiang and I took out a storage ring and placed it on the table. The enmity between us and the Ning family has been settled. I also heard that the Ning family was settled by family head Jiang. This loot naturally belongs to the Jiang family. It has nothing to do with us. Di Beichen's expression was calm. His gaze didn't even linger on the storage ring. Looking at his unmoved appearance, Jiang and I also understood that the Ning family's property was a huge fortune to others. However, to Di Beichen, it clearly wasn't that attractive. Not to mention his identity as an Array Master, just his elementary immortal realm cultivation made it very easy for him to earn money. You can't say that. Jiang and I smiled. If young Master Di didn't take care of the most troublesome part, all of this wouldn't have gone so smoothly. The subsequent matters didn't require much effort. To be honest, we have always been sworn enemies with the Ning family. During this period of time, we have been suppressed by them. If young Master Di didn't appear, I'm afraid the Jiang family would have ended up like this. Whether young Master Di cares or not, our Jiang family will remember this favor in our hearts. Therefore, we can't keep these things for ourselves. Young Master Di, please accept them. This way, we can feel better. Hearing Jiang Ni's words, everyone felt rather comfortable. They had to admit that Jiang and I was very skillful with his words. His words made everyone unable to feel any disgust towards him. How could Di Beichen not understand that Jiang and I was trying to curry favor with them in order to befriend them? However, putting aside the fact that they wouldn't stay in Level Peak City, they didn't even plan to stay in the chaotic celestial realm. At this time, Gong Jun ran out with a smile. Since Patriarch Jiang has said so, then we will accept this. Thank you very much. Boss, the Ning clan is a big clan after all. They must have left many things behind over the years. It would be a waste if we don't take it. Gong Jun sent a telepathic message anxiously. He was really convinced. Boss was good at everything, but why couldn't he change this bad habit of not loving money? As a cultivator, how important were cultivation resources? Now that someone had come knocking on his door, he would be a fool if he didn't take it. Everyone noticed Gong Jun's money grubber appearance and couldn't help but shake their heads helplessly. This situation really wasn't out of their expectations at all. This fellow had never had any resistance against such things. Chapter 7066. Hee, I'm boss follower. Gong Jun introduced himself. So it's young Master Gong Jun. Nice to meet you. Jiang and I smiled again and looked at Gong Jun with a friendlier gaze. He wasn't afraid that Di Beichen would accept the storage ring. He was afraid that Di Beichen wouldn't accept it. Now that someone had accepted it for him, the effect would be the same. First time unfamiliar, second time familiar. Gong Jun laughed shamelessly. The smile on Jiang Ni's face deepened. This guy in front of him was a helper. Young Master is right. That's how it is, haha. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at the two who were chatting happily. Helplessness appeared on their faces. The more they talked about this topic, the more they got along. Di Beichen looked at Gong Jun's impatient look. He was afraid that Di Beichen would refuse and kept winking at him. Di Beichen found it funny. Forget it, let him be. Otherwise, with this guy's character, I don't know how long he would nag. After Gong Jun noticed that Di Beichen didn't object, he understood that this was tacit approval. Suddenly, he was even more fearless. Don't worry, we have received your kind intentions. If there is anything you need help with in the future, as long as we can do it, we will definitely lend a hand. Gong Jun smiled and said, however, my boss and the others usually pay more attention to improving their cultivation, so they often go to other places to gain experience. I understand, this is what you should do. Jiang and I nodded repeatedly. There was a law in the cultivation world. Cultivators who improve their strength very quickly were often elusive. Most of the time, they went to different places to gain experience. Looking at it from another perspective, if it wasn't for this method, it would be impossible to achieve such achievements. Therefore, after a few words from Gong Jun, Jiang and I left very satisfied. Before leaving, he even called Gong Jun brother. Looking at this guy's beaming reply, Ziren said, "You've struck it rich, haven't you?" Gong Jun chuckled. Then, he noticed Di Beichen and hurriedly said, "Nonsense. I'm doing this for boss." "Oh." Ziren dragged out his tone, revealing his suspicions. "We're about to head to the crossing celestial region. I'm afraid we won't be back for a while. Since you promised him, you can help him if he needs help in the future," Di Beichen said calmly. Gong Jun was stunned. "Boss, are you not going to bring me along when you go to the immortal domain? Beichen and Hong Zhuang are going together. Why are you following them?" Ziren's face was full of disdain. "Moreover, your cultivation level is not high enough. If you are detained in the crossing immortal domain, won't we have to spend effort to save you? Don't you want your immortal treasure pavilion?" Di Beichen asked. Gong Jun was a little disappointed. However, after thinking about it carefully, what he said made sense. He could only say helplessly, "All right, boss. Don't forget about me when you go to the crossing immortal domain." With that, Gong Jun wanted to lay on Di Beichen's body with resentment. At this moment, Bai Yanche took a step forward and pushed this guy who was full of resentment to the side. "Don't worry. Brother-in-law's assets are still with you. He definitely won't forget about you." Gong Jun's eyes brightened. "That's right. Then I don't have to worry. If I don't come, these will all be mine." Chapter 70-67. After resting in Pingfeng City for another 2 days, Di Xiaofeng and the others returned to the upper realm. Gong Jun and Mo Yunjue went back to Shiyan City. Bailey Hongzhuang and Jiang Chun also set off for crossing immortal domain. Before they set off, Gong Jun had already helped them find the route to crossing immortal domain. Of course, Jiang and I also contributed a lot. The two of them had become good friends since their last conversation. Gong Jun was unfamiliar with this place, so he asked Jiang and I to help him find the route quickly. Although he found it strange that Di Beichen and the others needed the route to crossing immortal domain, he didn't ask about it in the end. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the route in her hand. She found that the distance between crossing immortal domain and immortal domain was relatively close. As for setting off from chaotic immortal domain, they had to take a detour. However, according to Jiang and I, it seemed that it was easier to set off from chaotic immortal domain. It was more troublesome to set off from immortal domain. Now that the passage from crossing immortal domain to immortal domain is sealed, even if we reach immortal domain, it would be very difficult to find a breakthrough. Therefore, it's better to set off from chaotic immortal domain. Although it will take more time, the chances of success will be higher. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the map in her hand and said her thoughts. Then she looked up at Di Beichen and asked for his opinion. Di Beichen nodded slightly. "I have the same idea. We have to pass through a few teleportation formations on the way. When we reach this forest, we can only rely on our feet." Bailey Hongzhuang knocked carefully. "It would take a long time, but they should be able to make it. Let's set off." Di Beichen smiled. "With Big Brother and the others in the family, we don't have to worry for now. I'm thinking about another problem." "What problem?" "This time, the cultivator from the immortal region of the Ning family is called Qing Ji. This kind of name is not common. I wonder if she is related to Qing Devil?" Di Beichen was deep in thought. At that time, the situation was really urgent, so he didn't leave anyone alive and didn't have the chance to ask about it. Now that he thought about it carefully, he felt that there might be some connection between them. Bailey Hongzhuang thought about it carefully and felt that their names were similar. Qing came from the immortal region. Qing Devil is also in the immortal region now. However, if he is really Qing Devil's man, why did he come to the chaotic immortal region? Maybe it's because he's not strong enough in the immortal realm, so he wants to come to the immortal realm of chaos to develop. Di Beichun smiled faintly. All of this is just my guess. Maybe the two of them just happen to have similar names. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. This kind of thing could only be guessed before it was confirmed. If he is really Qing Devil's man, it's not a big deal. Anyway, we will meet him sooner or later. Bailey Hongzhuang's tone was carefree. If it was in the past, they would be very worried. However, they had broken through to the elementary immortal stage now. Even though the intensity of their essence force couldn't be compared to Qing Devils, they were undoubtedly more capable of protecting themselves than when they were in the Radiant Sun realm. Even if they couldn't defeat him, they still had a chance to run away. On the second floor of the Immortal Treasure Pavilion, young Master Gong, is Master going to the chaotic immortal region like this? Will it be a waste of time? It's good for Master to go there. Recently, those guys are getting more and more active. They have begun to reach out to us. Chapter 7068. I'm afraid we can't keep hiding like this. Forget about the eldest princess. There's also the fourth prince. Once Master is found, the black-robed man's face was gloomy, and there was a hint of worry in his eyes. Don't leak any information about Master. I'll protect Master. Gong Jun narrowed his eyes as a fierce look flashed across his face. It's fine if the fourth prince behaves himself. However, if he causes too much trouble, then you have to be careful. Those guys are not easy to deal with, the black-robed man said in a deep voice. I understand. They're too naive to fight with me. Gong Jun withdrew the vicious look in his eyes and said, I have something for you to do, yes. The journey to the crossing celestial domain was very long. During the journey, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun had seen the different scenery in other cities. However, the two of them did not plan to waste any time. They kept on rushing. Under such circumstances, the two of them were extremely fast. Looking at the forest in front of her, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips slowly raised into a smile. We'll arrive at the border between the crossing celestial domain and the chaotic celestial domain once we pass through this forest. Di Beichun looked at the forest in front of him. According to the map, the mountain range was not small. It would take at least half a month to pass through the mountain range. Other than that, they only had the map. However, they did not know how to get to the crossing celestial domain. Beichun, what's on your mind? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. The door to the crossing celestial domain has always been closed. It must be an unusual way to enter. Both of us have never been here before. I'm afraid we have to ask someone who knows the situation. Bailey Hongzhuang understood when she heard that. She looked around carefully and realized there was no one else around. She could not help but ask, I wonder if there will be anyone after we pass through this forest? Going to the crossing celestial domain was a taboo topic in both the chaotic celestial domain and the chaotic celestial domain. If they could not find someone reliable, they could not tell anyone about it. There should be. Di Beichun looked serious. If Jiang and I could get this map, it means that someone knows the situation here very well. There must be some people at the junction of the two places. But how to find them and find a way to pass through, I'm afraid it will take some effort. Looking at the man's confident appearance, the worry in Bailey Hongzhuang's heart lessened a bit. Crossing the celestial domain was very important to the upper realm. If they couldn't find a way, it would be very troublesome for them to ascend in the future. His family members could use the Chaos Ring to travel to the chaotic immortal realm. As for the others, they could only stay in the upper realm for the rest of their lives. Immortal Domain. Hearing the news from his subordinate, Qing Devil frowned slowly. You said Qing Ji is dead? Yes, Qing Ji's longevity lamp has been extinguished. Qing Devil narrowed her eyes and said, he went to the chaotic immortal realm this time and lost his life there. This guy is getting worse and worse. Maybe he was targeted by someone in the immortal domain. There are no cultivators in the primitive celestial realm in the chaotic immortal realm. It shouldn't be a problem there. Qing Devil smiled slightly. Her eyes were full of malice, and she said, in that case, let's find out who did it. Chapter 7069. My Lord Qing Devil, many people still don't believe your identity after you possess someone else's body. Those people have been hoping that you won't come back. They must be afraid that you will become stronger. That's why they did such a thing. The man's face was solemn. There was anger in his eyes. If that's the case, the realm of chaotic immortals should stop their actions for now. We should find out who did it first. Otherwise, there will be another Qing Ji. Qing Devil narrowed his eyes. There was no emotion on his calm face. However, his eyes, which were as sinister as a viper's, revealed his mood. Once he found out who dared to attack his people, he would never let them go. Yes. By the way, have you found anything about the lower realms that I asked you to investigate? I've already screened them according to your description. However, there are too many lower realms. Many of them fit the criteria. The man wore a troubled expression. They had never paid much attention to the lower realms. There were too many realms to count, and they were all similar. However, it was not easy to screen them based on the information that Qing Devil had given them. Qing Devil's face turned cold. He waved his hand and said, "Then take your time. No matter how long it takes, you have to find this realm." "Yes, we will do it as soon as possible. You can leave now." Qing Devil leaned against the back of the chair. Thinking about what had happened in the upper realm, the anger in his eyes grew stronger. "When I find it, all of you will die." What had happened in the upper realm was a disgrace in his eyes. Moreover, those two guys had copied a lot of the true essence. He had to get his hands on such treasures. Walking in the forest, Bailey Hongzhuang found that there were not many demonic beasts in the forest. She didn't see many people along the way. Her mood became very complicated. In terms of scenery, the mystery realm is the best. Di Baichen suddenly said when he noticed the worry in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and nodded with a smile. "It's also green, but the environment there is more beautiful and full of vitality." They were clearly lush trees, but for some reason, they looked different. "After the dust settles, we will return there to cultivate." Compared to this place, the environment in the secret realm was undoubtedly much better. Bailey Hongzhuang took out a few fruits and handed them over. "Try them first and feel the aura there." While the two of them were eating and joking, Di Baichen suddenly pulled Bailey Hongzhuang into a nearby bush. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't understand what was going on, but she still didn't say a word. She quietly stayed at the side, paying attention to the movements outside. A moment later, a figure slowly appeared. Noticing this figure, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows showed a trace of surprise. After arriving here, the woman stopped for a moment and looked around in confusion. She didn't continue to move forward until she found that there was no movement. After the woman walked a certain distance away, Bailey Hongzhuang said, "Isn't she a disciple of the Ning family?" She remembered that the woman had attacked her when she had just arrived. At that time, she only seriously injured the woman, but didn't kill her directly. She didn't expect to see her here. Chapter 7070. Di Baichen raised his eyebrows in a relaxed manner. "I remember now. This girl's name seems to be Ning Yaoyao." Bailey Hongzhuang said. "You know her name?" Di Baichen was a little surprised. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. "I heard it from Yun Yin." She had heard from Yun Yin that Ning Yaoyao had taken a liking to her elder brother and wanted him to marry her. She had heard the whole story. For a girl, this kind of thing was indeed the most memorable. Why is she following us? Is she planning to take revenge? Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. She heard that Jiang and I and the other forces had already cleaned up the Ning clan. Other than a few strong cultivators who took the opportunity to escape, the rest had been taken care of. Maybe, Di Baichen pondered deeply. With her strength, wanting to take revenge was a bit of a fool's dream. Let's follow her and see what she's going to do. Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferent. Anyway, with their strength, they didn't have to worry about Ning Yaoyao's tricks. They might as well see what she was planning or what other trump cards the Ning clan had. Years of experience told her that no matter what kind of force it was, she couldn't let her guard down because no one knew what other tricks they had up their sleeves. Ning Yaoyao was obviously very good at tracking. Otherwise, Bailey Hongzhuang and Yun wouldn't have been unaware of her existence. Therefore, The two kept a certain distance while following her. He was clearly in front of me before. Why did he suddenly disappear? Ning Yao Yao looked melancholy. Ever since she mastered her tracking technique, she had never failed. She didn't expect to lose someone this time. It was really depressing. I wonder what they're doing here. Could it be that they're going to the crossing immortal domain? It's so rare to see such a peerless, handsome man. I'm even thinking of turning over a new leaf. Why did he disappear? Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun had always been a little further away. If they heard Ning Yao Yao's words, who knew what they would think? Half a month later, they finally made it through the forest. Looking at the flat road ahead, Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised to find that there was actually a small town here. This town obviously couldn't be compared to the cities outside, but it still seemed to be quite large. He hadn't seen any other cultivators in the forest, but he didn't expect that there would be so many people nearby. It seems that we should be able to find a way to enter. Di Beichun smiled faintly. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. She took out a pill and gave it to Di Beichun. After the two of them took it, their faces changed. This was all thanks to the method that Granny Hua had taught her. Although it didn't last long, it was already very useful. After successfully changing their appearances, the two openly followed Ning Yao Yao into the same inn. When the other people in the inn noticed the three unfamiliar faces, a strange look appeared in their eyes. In this place, strangers didn't appear often. Now that a few strangers suddenly appeared, they naturally had to be more vigilant. After Bailey Hongzhuang and Yun Yin noticed this situation, they understood that this was a more exclusive place. They could only order some food quietly and enter the room. Chapter 70-71. Unlike Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Bai, Ning Yao Yao did not seem to understand the situation very well. She was thinking about how to find Yi Beichen and was curious about this place. She asked the shop owner about it. Seeing Ning Yao Yao's good looks, many men became interested and took the initiative to answer her questions. Bailey Hongzhuang asked Xiao He and Xiao Bai to gather information. These two little fellows were undoubtedly the most familiar with gathering information. The two little balls, one black and one white, mixed with the mud and rolled under Ning Yao Yao's table. No one noticed them at all, so the two little fellows listened to the news openly. The two of them were not in a hurry. They ate slowly and observed the situation through the window at the same time. The map only led to this point, and there was no other information about it. Therefore, if they wanted to enter the crossing immortal domain, they had to rely on the help of the people here. The two of them hid their cultivation and controlled themselves to be in the Radiant Sun stage. Two people in the elementary immortal stage were definitely the target of everyone here. Although this place is close to the crossing immortal domain, I don't know what method they use to communicate. Bailey Hongzhuang thought. According to her judgment, the purpose of this town should be to do business with the people of the crossing immortal domain. She had heard a little about this before, mainly when she was caught and forced to mine. There were many spirit-devouring ores in the crossing immortal domain. The people of the crossing immortal domain needed the spirit-devouring ores, but were unwilling to mine them. Therefore, they captured these fellows to mine as laborers. There is no doubt that the people of the crossing immortal domain did not want to be controlled to mine ores. The cultivators outside needed the spirit-devouring ores. It was easy to guess the deal. After a while, Xiao He and Xiao Bai returned. However, the two little fellows had strange expressions. How was it? Did you hear anything useful? We heard a lot of the conversation. Although Ning Yao Yao wanted to get information from these people, they were very smart. They said a lot, but there was not much useful information. On the other hand, Ning Yao Yao was tricked into saying a lot, so everyone knew more about her situation. Bailey Hongzhuang. This fellow was really a genius. What did Ning Yao Yao say? Di Beichen asked. Hearing this, Xiao He and Xiao Bai looked at each other with interesting expressions. What's wrong? Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. Master, don't be angry if I tell you, Little Black said. What's there to be angry about? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. What's the situation? Just tell me directly. Xiao He then said, according to Ning Yao Yao, she came here because she found a man she admired, so she followed him all the way here. However, she did not know what this place was for. As soon as he said this, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression became very strange. A man she admired? Her gaze fell on the extraordinarily handsome man beside her. There was no one else besides him. They had almost wiped out the Ning family. Yet Ning Yaoyao still admired Beichen. How much of a love-struck fool was she? Chapter 70-72. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was deep in thought, a hand suddenly covered her face. Then, the handsome face gradually enlarged and a warm kiss landed on her lips. Bailey Hongzhuang was stunned. Then, she heard the man's magnetic voice. "I only have my wife in my heart." The unhappiness that had emerged in her heart dissipated with this sentence. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up slightly, sweetness filling her heart. Xiao He and Xiao Bai hurriedly covered their eyes. I didn't see anything. Ahem, is there any other news?" Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Xiao Bai shook her head. "There's no other news." Ning Yaoyao asked these people many questions, but they all evaded them. There's no other useful information. However, Ning Yaoyao should be targeted. Xiao He raised her eyebrows, her words carrying an unknown meaning. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood and waved her hand. Ning Yaoyao originally used dual cultivation to raise her cultivation. This is not a bad thing for her. She had heard Yin Yin mention this before. If not, Ning Yaoyao would not have wanted to take Xiaofeng away. In the world of cultivation, all kinds of cultivation methods existed. Among them, there were those that used dual cultivation and cauldron cultivation to raise one's cultivation. This kind of cultivation method was not orthodox and was usually despised by many. However, it had to be said that this kind of cultivation method could raise one's strength very quickly. However, because it was not through orthodox cultivation, one's yuan energy was not pure enough. In the later stages of cultivation, the degree of improvement would be limited. Ning Yaoyao's situation should be like this. For her to be able to raise her cultivation to this level, she must have cultivated for a long time. Needless to say, she must have found a cauldron cultivation. At night, go to the other rooms and take a look, especially the shop owner. If 3 unfamiliar faces suddenly appear, he will not do anything. Di Beichen said. Xiao He and Xiao Bai nodded repeatedly. It's no problem to leave this kind of task to us. After knowing that Ning Yaoyao's purpose of coming here was not revenge, but because she had high hopes for Di Beichen, the two of them threw this matter to the back of their minds. In this place, it was obviously not suitable for them to make too much noise. There was also no need to make a move on Ning Yaoyao. After realizing that she could not find them, she probably would not continue to stay here. They could completely ignore her. In the evening, when Ning Yaoyao saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Bai, she had some suspicions, but she completely dispelled her suspicions when she discovered that they did not disguise. At their level, ordinary disguises were of no use at all. That night, Xiao He and Xiao Bai hurriedly. "Shopkeeper, I'm afraid there's something fishy about the man and woman in the room upstairs. I've already asked the others, and they haven't invited any strangers over recently. There's probably something wrong with these two people." The shopkeeper's face darkened slightly. "Our information has always been very confidential. How could we suddenly provoke a stranger? Make sure again. If they really have nothing to do with anyone else, then find a chance to get rid of them. Okay, then what about this batch of goods this time? Let's stop for a while. Don't let others find out. I'll inform them tomorrow and send them out a few days later." Chapter 70-73. You have to pay attention to that batch of goods. The shopkeeper's expression was serious. If you walk by the river often, your shoes will get wet. You have to be careful. These guys suddenly appeared at a time like this. Perhaps the news about our batch of goods has been leaked. If they're here to snatch the goods, they'll definitely take action. Shopkeeper, leave this matter to me. Don't worry. The attendant nodded. I'll definitely keep a close eye on them. Xiao He and Xiao Bai looked at each other, feeling helpless. These two guys had been talking for so long, but they still didn't know what the goods were. If they didn't figure this out, it would be difficult for them to find a breakthrough. After the attendant left, Xiao He and Xiao Bai followed him closely. What they wanted most was to follow this guy to see what the goods were. However, this guy didn't seem to have any plans to go for the time being. They followed him for an entire night without any movement. Only then did the two guys return to the house. That guy can really keep his composure. He actually resisted the urge to check the goods. Xiao He sighed. They had waited for an entire night for a result, but who knew that they still didn't know anything? After hearing everything that Xiao He and Xiao Bai said, the two of them finally understood. It seems that our judgment was right. There's indeed a deal between them. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly said. Di Beichen nodded slightly. As for what this deal is, I'm afraid we'll have to wait to find out. Since the shopkeeper and the others were so worried, it was only a matter of time before they couldn't help but check the goods. When that time came, they would be able to find out what the goods were. The next day, Ning Yao Yao continued to wander around other places. She looked like she wouldn't give up until she found Di Beichun. However, there were men accompanying her during this process. In comparison, Ning Yao Yao was dispelled because she was valued by the other men. The two of them became the real targets of suspicion. When the attendant brought the dishes into the house, he pretended to ask casually, "Both of you, we've always been deserted here. May I know what you're doing here? If there's anything I can help with, please let me know." Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun looked at each other and understood that the shopkeeper couldn't sit still any longer. If they didn't say anything today, it was very likely that the other party would make a move on them. The other party was only at the Glorious Sun realm, so they did not fear him in the slightest. However, once they attacked, their problems would be completely exposed, which went against their original intentions. What they needed to do now was to blend into the environment. Only then would they be able to enter the crossing celestial domain. I wonder if you've seen this before? Di Bei-chun took out a piece of devouring spirit stone and looked at the servant with a faint smile. Seeing the spirit devouring stone, the attendant's expression changed slightly, but soon returned to normal. "Young master, this is the spirit devouring stone." Di Bei-chun nodded slightly. "To be honest, we came here this time because we heard that there was a spirit-devouring stone here, so we wanted to take a look. As you know, the price of a spirit-devouring stone is too high outside." Sigh. Pretending to helplessly sigh, Di Beichen whispered, "I don't know if this brother has any way to do it. If you can help us, we won't mistreat you." Chapter 7074. May I know where you heard this from? I found out about it by accident. I saved someone not far away from this mountain range. That person gave me some devouring spirit stones as thanks. I found out about this from him, but I didn't pay much attention to it. It's not easy to dig out this devouring spirit stone. Even if there's a mine here, I wouldn't be willing to dig it out. Di Beichen's expression was serious. This is not the case. After my wife heard the news, she wanted to come and have a look. We also wanted to come and have a look. However, I've been here for 2 days, and I don't think there's such a situation. I'm afraid this news isn't true. It's not that easy to get a devouring spirit stone. However, the scenery here is pretty good. We're here to enjoy the scenery. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and said, "Little brother, if you really have news about this, I hope you can tell us. We won't mistreat you." She took out a pill and placed it on the table. "I think little brother needs this pill." The attendant looked at the bone-refining pill on the table, and his eyes lit up. A few years ago, he suffered from a hidden illness because of fight. Usually, it didn't affect him much. However, his cultivation had been stagnant. There were almost no alchemists here, so it was not easy to go out and buy medicinal pills. In addition, this place was really too remote, and there were not many medicinal pill stores outside, so he could not find the medicinal pills he needed. Not only that, the price of this pill was very high. He had no choice but to give it up. However, this pill was right in front of him. The attendant's heart suddenly became warm. He couldn't wait to reach out and put the pill into his pocket. However, he didn't say anything after thinking about it. "Then I'll help you ask around. If there's news, I'll tell you. Then I'll have to trouble you." After the attendant left, Bailey Hongzhuang fell into deep thought. She didn't know if what they said just now was convincing. There should be no mistake about the devouring spirit stone. Di Beichun said slowly. He had no choice but to take a gamble. No matter what, crossing a mortal domain definitely had a spirit-devouring stone mine. There were no devouring stones in the chaotic immortal realm. Therefore, it was very difficult to buy devouring stones in the chaotic immortal realm. Even in the chaotic immortal realm, the price was very high. Since he was able to take out the spirit-devouring stone, he should have gained some trust from the other party. If the goods they're talking about are spirit-devouring stones, then someone must have come here every once in a while to harvest them. As long as we are willing to pay a high price, we can sell it to anyone. The success rate should be very high, but we must first gain their trust. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. He should be tempted by the things I gave him today. Let Xiao He and the others go and find out some information tonight. Maybe there will be a chance. At night, Xiao He and Xiao Bai immediately took action. Shopkeeper, do you think their words can be trusted? The attendant's eyes were filled with anticipation. As long as the shopkeeper agreed, he would be able to obtain the bone refining pill effortlessly. The shopkeeper looked hesitant. Your information is still not clear enough. We don't even know who the person he's talking about is. How can we be sure? Chapter 70-75. What you said makes sense. However, the other party might not be a trustworthy person after all. We should be careful. The shopkeeper still had some reservations. They had always been very secretive about this kind of business. Once others found out, they would be targeted and it would become very troublesome. Therefore, even if there was a possibility of making money, he would not act rashly. Compared to the money he would earn, the price he had to pay for this failure was undoubtedly much greater. Yes, let's continue to observe. The attendant was a little disappointed. If they did not succeed, it meant that he would not be able to get his hands on the pills. It was such a rare opportunity. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen relaxed a little when they heard the news reported by Xiao He and Xiao Bai. Since he has already started to change his mind, it's only a matter of time. Di Beichen smiled faintly. You're smart. You successfully used this pill to attract him. The attendant's attitude was obviously on their side. If it were not for the pill, it would not be easy for them to get this kid to change his mind. It's never a bad thing to have more skills. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Refining pills was not only for one's own use. Many times, it could achieve good results. However, with our current situation, it's already very difficult to gain their trust and by the spirit-devouring stone. I'm afraid it'll be even more difficult to get the method to enter the crossing immortal domain from them. Thinking about it carefully, these two matters could not be compared at all. If it were not for the people here, the other party would not tell them no matter what. Di Beichen's eyes darkened. This was indeed a problem. If there was no other way, they could only use force. However, under such circumstances, whether force would achieve the desired results was a problem. Don't worry. Since we're already here, it's okay to spend more time. Di Beichen comforted. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. You're right. Let's take it slow. There has to be a process. Everyone knew that the door to the crossing immortal domain was closed. Even if there was a way, the other party would definitely not say it. If they used other methods and the other party hid it, it would be very troublesome. Actually, this attendant is a breakthrough. We can think of more ways to get him. Di Beichen smiled. A person who was already tempted. As long as they added some other bargaining chips, it should not be difficult to bribe him. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. The next day, when the waiter brought the food, Di Beichen asked, Little brother, I don't know if there's any news about the matter we asked you to inquire about. The attendant's expression was complicated for a moment, and his smile was a little stiff. Young master, this kind of thing is not so easy to find. You also know how difficult it is to get a spirit-devouring stone. Even if you have the money, it is still very difficult to find it outside. You're right. We're not in a hurry. I hope you can put in more effort. Di Beichen nodded. Don't worry. I'll let you know if I have any news. Di Beichen stood up. We've been here for a few days. We haven't gone to other places. Let's go to other places today. Will it be dangerous? Chapter 70-76. This time, we actually came here by accident. We don't know much about this place. I've observed for a few days and found that there are no outsiders here at all. Won't the two of us be ostracized by people here? Di Beichen's expression was sincere, but there was a faint trace of worry. The attendant finally understood and secretly thought that this man was quite smart. His worried look really didn't show the slightest hint of a conspiracy. He increasingly felt that the innkeeper's worries were unnecessary. If the other party was really fearless, why would he need to worry about this? Gongzi, your words actually make some sense. You can see that we're in a small town, and the people who live here are some old residents. The frequency of outsiders appearing is indeed not high, and their sudden appearance will inevitably cause people to be apprehensive. The attendant replied, "So, we can't inquire about it ourselves?" Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. Hearing this, the attendant's expression changed slightly and hurriedly said, "I think it's best not to. This kind of thing is not easy to inquire about, and you're outsiders, oh." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded seriously. "Little brother, you don't have to be too difficult. If there's nothing else, we'll leave in a few days." The attendant's mood suddenly became more complicated. Once the two of them left, the elixir he wanted when the attendant left, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen smiled slightly. The reason why they said this was to make the attendant a little anxious. This way, their chances would be greater. Let's go out for a walk." Di Beichen stretched out his hand. You really plan to go out?" Nothing happened to Ning Yao Yao these few days because she was accompanied by a flower protector, but the situation might not be the same if the two of them went out. "Why not?" Di Beichen asked back. "Just treat us as Dao, companions going out to relax, and accidentally came here." "Okay." Bailey Hongzhuang extended her hand. After leaving the inn, the two of them sized up the situation in the small town. They had to admit that the environment here was very good. However, as the two of them appeared, many people's gazes fell on them, sizing them up strangely. When the two of them turned their gazes over, the other party was silently busy with the matters at hand. Bailey Hongzhuang and Lin Minya did not mind. They walked along the street and looked around. In fact, although this small town couldn't be considered prosperous, it still had everything it should have. However, most of the things sold on the streets were food, clothing, and so on. There were also many weapons, but there were no pills, runes, or the like. No wonder that little brother's eyes were filled with greed when he saw my medicinal pills. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood. If she guessed correctly, this place should be a place where the spirit-devouring stone business was conducted. In the process of this development, many people came here. However, alchemists were usually quite revered outside, so very few alchemists would come here. On one hand, it was because alchemists themselves did not lack money. On the other hand, it was undoubtedly very difficult to find enough immortal spirit herbs in this place. There were not many immortal spirit herbs in this mountain range. Therefore, without enough immortal spirit herbs, even if alchemists were willing to stay here, it would be useless. Chapter 7077. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Di Beichen and smiled. "You brought me out to find an opportunity, right?" "No." Di Beichen shook his head. "It's mainly to take you out to relax." Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. "But you're right. This is indeed an opportunity, but we still have to find a suitable time to carry it out." The two exchanged glances and seemed to have reached some kind of tacit understanding. As they wandered around the town, almost no one had the slightest intention of talking to them when they saw them. They weren't even willing to exchange glances with them. The two weren't in a hurry and just leisurely looked around, as if they were here to play. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly noticed a familiar figure in front. Ning Yao Yao was in front of two men, and she could vaguely hear them arguing. "Yao Yao, this guy isn't anything good. It's better for you to follow me." "Yao Yao, don't pay attention to him. I'm much better than this guy in every aspect." Ning Yao Yao lazily looked at the two, a hint of playfulness in her eyes. "I already have a target this time. Didn't you not find that man? Besides, that man already has a Dao companion. The night is long. Why don't I accompany you first?" The man's face was full of smiles, and his eyes unabashedly sized up Ning Yao Yao. Ning Yao Yao raised her eyebrows. "There are two of you here, and I like strong ones." Hearing this, the two men immediately understood what she meant and immediately swung their fists at each other. Seeing this scene, Bailey Hongzhuang was secretly speechless. Ning Yao Yao's troublemaking methods were really amazing. Fighting over this kind of woman? I think these guys really haven't seen the world. Xiao He was speechless. In Pingfeng City, it was Ning Yao Yao who was looking for men, but here, she was being fought over by men. Sure enough, the situation was different in different places. "Let's go over there." Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't interested in this kind of drama, so she turned and walked to the other side. The two of them walked forward until they reached a cliff. Only then did they stop. This was a natural moat. From afar, one could only see dense fog. It was impossible to see the situation on the other side. It was as if heaven and earth had been separated here. This place is interesting. Bailey Hongzhuang stared ahead. Even if she used her spiritual power, she could not detect the situation in front of her. The fog in this natural chasm seems to have the ability to block mental power. It seems like the crossing immortal realm is just ahead. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression changed slightly. You're saying it's in front? Normal places wouldn't have such a special fog. This kind of fog is like the fog in the perception steel. It's very difficult to pass through. There is also a natural chasm between the crossing immortal domain and the immortal domain. This natural chasm also reminded them of the gap between half-immortals and true immortals. Coincidentally, there's a natural chasm here, and it's very far from the other side. Doesn't this match the description that we've heard? Bailey Hongzhuang carefully studied the situation in front of her and connected the information in her memory. She realized that this was indeed the case. You're right, this should be it. However, it should be very difficult to get there from here. Chapter 70-78. With their current cultivation level, it was not a problem for them to fly in the air. However, if the distance between them and the heavenly moat was too far, they would run out of origin energy halfway. After all, there was no shelter around them. They would definitely die if they fell into the heavenly moat. Di Beichun walked back and forth in the vicinity. He did not find any place that could lead them to the heavenly moat. There was a hint of confusion between his eyebrows. Since this town has a devouring spirit stone trade with the cultivators in the crossing celestial realm, it means that we can meet them. However, we haven't found a way yet. Don't worry, we'll find some clues if we spend more time. This was not out of their expectations. If it was so easy to find out, everyone would know about it. It would not be a secret at all. Just when the two of them were deep in thought, a cold voice could be heard from behind them. What are the two of you doing here? When the two of them heard the cold voice, they turned around and noticed a middle-aged man behind them. The man seemed to be dissatisfied with the two of them. There was a hint of anger in his voice. We just happened to come here, so we're just looking around. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. A ray of light flashed in her eyes. It seemed like this man knew something. This is a heavenly moat. Once you fall into it, you'll definitely die. You'll lose your lives if you stay here. The man said coldly, "Thank you for your concern." Di Beichun did not seem to notice the displeasure in the man's voice. He smiled gently and said, "We'll be careful." The middle-aged man did not know what to say when he saw Di Beichun's relaxed expression. "Let's not stay here anymore. Let's go back." "Is there something that we can't come here?" Bailey Hongzhuang pretended to be confused. "We've never seen such a heavenly moat before. So, we just wanted to take a look. It said that this is the border between the chaotic celestial realm and the crossing celestial realm." The man's expression immediately turned cold. "You're just two outsiders. Every place has its own taboo. Our town has never welcomed outsiders. If you continue to act like this, then don't blame me for driving you out. Big brother, the two of us only came here by accident. We don't have any intention of violating the rules. We hope that you won't target us too much." Di Beichun pulled Bailey Hongzhuang a few steps away from the natural moat. "Actually, we think the environment here is pretty good. Then leave this place quickly. If others find out, you won't be able to stay here even if you want to." The man snorted coldly before flicking his sleeves and leaving. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Lin Sanjiu did not continue to stay here. However, they were certain that this was the place they were looking for. "The people here are really rude." Xiao Hei clicked her tongue. Based on the man's behavior, she could not wait to beat him up. Bailey Hongzhuang tilted her head. This man must know a lot of things. It would be great if we can find a breakthrough from him. However, he seems difficult to deal with. I'm afraid it's almost impossible to get anything out of him. Don't worry, we'll find a breakthrough eventually. Di Beichun's expression was casual as he walked towards the inn at a leisurely pace. Chapter 70-79. On the way back, the two realized that the fight between the two men over Ning Yao Yao had come to an end. A man fell to the ground, and the air was filled with the faint smell of blood. The other man stood next to Ning Yao Yao in a victorious manner. Ning Yao Yao did not even glance at the man on the ground and left with the other man. The man on the ground could only stare hatefully at their departing figures, his eyes full of depression. Lu Qiyu, your injuries are not light. You should go back and recuperate first. Is it worth it for a girl? It's not like there aren't any other girls in town. The surrounding people voiced out. In order to perform well in front of Ning Yao Yao, the two men did not hold back at all. With such injuries, I'm afraid that a few of his ribs are broken. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at the man on the ground and already had some judgment in her heart. Such injuries were undoubtedly very serious for ordinary people, but for cultivators, they could recover after a period of rest. The man stood up and left with a gloomy expression. As they walked, Bailey Hongzhuang found that the man's route was actually the same as theirs. Until they reached a house, the man stopped and walked inside. "What's wrong with you?" A deep and concerned voice rang out. Hearing this voice, Di Beichun raised his eyebrows. This voice sounded quite familiar. Taking a closer look, the two realized that the person who spoke was the middle-aged man they met at the natural moat. Looking at the similar faces of the two, they could tell that the two were father and son. "I fought with that guy." Lu Qiyu coughed as he spoke. This cough made the injuries on his body even more painful, and a trace of pain appeared on his face. "Your health has not been good recently, and you still fought with someone." The man's eyes were filled with anger. "If you continue to cause trouble, be careful of losing your life." Second uncle had always been well-behaved, but didn't he still lose his life in the end? "I'm afraid that I won't be able to live for much longer." "What nonsense are you talking about?" "How am I talking nonsense?" Lu Qiyu looked stubborn. "I've been coughing for so long. Why can't they find anything wrong with me? Isn't that strange?" The middle-aged man's expression also became complicated. He didn't say anything. It was as if these words had hit his sore spot. He raised his head and suddenly saw Di Beichun and Li Du outside. His face immediately became gloomier. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun tactfully left. "Wife, have you found any clues?" Di Beichun turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. These two people were undoubtedly a good breakthrough point. If he could find the problem, it would be much easier to gain their trust. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head slightly. "This Lu Qiyu is already injured. From my observation, other than the visible injuries, I can't determine anything else. Unless I take his pulse, I won't be able to tell. However, based on the middle-aged man's attitude, it wouldn't be easy to take his pulse." Di Beichun understood. He had also studied medicine for a period of time. He knew that many things couldn't be seen at a glance. But no matter what, this was a good breakthrough point. Thinking about it, they would find the right opportunity. Chapter 70-80. Did the two of you find anything when you went out today? The attendant looked at the two of them curiously. They had only gone out for a short walk before they found him. They must have discovered something and wanted to ask him about it. "Little brother, you're really smart, but we didn't find anything. We were just curious and wanted to ask for some information." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. "Do you know Lu Qiyu?" "Lu Qiyu?" The attendant was stunned at first, but soon understood. "You saw him being beaten up so badly just now. So you came to ask me this, right?" Indeed, the scene just now was really shocking. Actually, there's nothing much to say about this matter. It's just two people fighting over jealousy. The attendant waved his hand and said, "Speaking of this Lu Qiyu, he was actually the most talented young man here, but something happened later." "What happened?" The attendant was a little hesitating whether to speak. "When we came back just now, we heard him arguing with his father, saying that he wouldn't live long like his second uncle, and he seemed very depressed." Di Beichun quietly said. Hearing this, the attendant nodded. "That's right. A few years ago, their family seemed to have been cursed, and people kept dying. In the past, their family was considered a big family here, and they had a lot of people. But for some reason, someone suddenly coughed, and coughed until he died. In just a few years, several people in their family died. Because of this, their family suffered a great blow. After that, many people were worried that they would be infected and implicated by their family, and gradually became estranged. I heard that Lu Qiyu has started coughing, so everyone thinks that he won't live long. Curse. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. This curse was actually a kind of dark power, but the way it was used was different. That's right. How are you sure that this is a curse? Di Beichen's eyes darkened slightly. I observed the strength of Lu Qiyu and his father. With the strength of their family, if they want to force so many people to fall one after another, the power of the curse would be enormous. As the son of darkness, he had never believed in curses. Even if a cultivator accumulated the power of darkness and shrouded a certain area, it would only make that area gloomy and cold. It was impossible for two cultivators of the same cultivation to rely on this kind of power to cause the other party to die one after another. I don't know. The waiter shook his head. I only heard about it. When this incident first occurred, no one thought in this direction. However, because they couldn't find the cause of the illness, and this situation only occurred in their family, it was very strange. Over time, everyone believed that it was a curse because other than that, there was no other reason. Wife, what do you think? Di Beichen asked via voice transmission. The power of the curse sounds strange, but in reality, it shouldn't be able to achieve such an effect. It's most likely caused by someone else. I think so too. After the two communicated their thoughts, Di Beichen said, "To tell you the truth, my wife is actually a doctor." She heard what Lu Qiyu said earlier, so she was very interested. Chapter 7081. I didn't expect you to be a doctor. In our place, there has always been only one doctor, and their status is very high. The attendant said with a smile. His attitude towards Bailey Hongzhuang had changed a little. Recalling the way she casually took out a pill, he roughly guessed that this lady was not only a doctor, but also an alchemist. There had always been some connection between the two. For cultivators, it was rare for them to fall sick, but almost every cultivator could not do without pills. Little brother, your doctor has checked Lu Qiyu's house and hasn't found any problems? The attendant nodded. Yes, the standard of the doctor in our town is also very good. Usually, if there's a small problem, everyone will go to him for treatment, and there is nothing that can't be cured. However, Lu Qiyu's family really can't find any problems, so everyone thinks it is a curse. Actually, I have always been very interested in some difficult and miscellaneous diseases. I wonder if I can help to check? Bailey Hongzhuang asked tentatively. Sir, I advise you not to take it. The attendant advised that Lu Jin is not someone easy to deal with, and in these few years, his personality has become very strange, and he almost doesn't have much contact with everyone. If you visit him at this time, I'm afraid he won't accept your kindness at all. Lu Jin can't, but Lu Qiyu can. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Doesn't he already have symptoms of coughing? I'm really curious. Hearing this, the attendant paused. Compared to Lu Jin, Lu Qiyu is indeed easier to talk to, but they may not believe outsiders. We will have to rely on little brother's help. Don't worry. We will definitely not treat you unfairly. Why do the two of you want to do such a laborious and unrewarding thing? The attendant looked at the two of them suspiciously. Not to mention that this matter did not have any benefits for them. They even had to give up some things. Wasn't this too not worth it? As long as it was a normal person, they would not do such a loss-making transaction. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Don't think too much. In fact, I have been immersed in medical skills for many years and have always wanted to have more breakthroughs in this field. Normally, I wouldn't miss out on any difficult and complicated cases. Fortunately, I managed to solve many of them. We didn't gain anything from this trip, but we're very interested in the power of the curse you spoke of. Thus, we want to give it a try and see if I can break it with my medical skills. My wife is very obsessed with medical skills. She is also known as a divine doctor in our original city. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to see through the medicinal pills you need at a glance. The attendant looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in surprise. No wonder this lady took out the bone refining pill. She had already seen through his situation. Miss, if my help is successful, I wonder if the pill... The attendant's face was full of smiles. He was afraid that it would be impossible to rely on his own shopkeeper for the time being. He had been thinking about the medicinal pills all day long. Sure, if you succeed, I'll give you this pill as a thank you gift. Don't worry, I'm familiar with Lu Qiu. Leave this matter to me. Just wait for my good news. Chapter 7082. If we can find the root of the problem, we should be able to gain some trust. However, if we can't find the root of the problem, I'm afraid that Lu Jin will rush over directly. Bailey Hongzhuang was a little helpless. Looking at Lu Jin today, she knew that this person was very difficult to deal with. Actually, there is one advantage to having such a character. Once he accepts, he should not hold back too much. Di Baichen said, "Are you sure?" Bailey Hongzhuang was a little doubtful. "I see that he is very repulsed by outsiders. Even if we help him, I'm afraid that he will still be cold and unwilling to accept it. It will still take some time. However, as long as we succeed, he will not show such an expression again." Di Baichen smiled faintly. In the past few years, almost everyone has kept their distance from his family. He could feel all of this himself. The affection of providing charcoal in snowy weather often has a greater impact. Vaguely, he always had a premonition that this Lu Jin was very likely to be the breakthrough. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang were about to go out when they saw that the attendant had called Lu Qiu over. "Dear guests, my task has been completed." The attendant was full of smiles as he pushed Lu Qiu forward with both hands. Lu Qiu looked at the two people in front of him with a hint of hesitation in his eyes. "Hey, are you sure this is reliable?" "Brother, don't worry so much. Just treat it as doing me a favor," the attendant said. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the attendant's efficiency, and a faint smile appeared in her eyes. She had to admit that this speed was very satisfactory. She was now a little curious about Lu Qiu's situation. She also wanted to know who was causing trouble and why everyone thought that it was a curse. "You want to treat my illness?" Lu Qiu looked at the two lazily. His expression was full of disbelief. It was only because of their relationship that he appeared here today. "Young Master Lu, please come in." Bailey Hongzhuang was very polite. "This humble one has heard about young Master Lu's troubles. I happen to be a doctor, so I wanted to take a look. I hope I didn't disturb you." Lu Qiu originally didn't have a good impression of these two people. Many people had already regarded them as people who were doomed to die, and even thought that they were the gods of plague. Regarding this point, he was already extremely unhappy in his heart. Now that two outsiders mentioned this matter, in his opinion, they simply wanted to see him make a fool of himself. However, looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's sincere look, he felt a little better. "You see, our family's illness has been treated by several doctors, but they couldn't find a way to cure it. I think you should just stop wasting time." Lu Qiu sat down on the stool. The woman in front of him looked very young. Although it was impossible to judge a cultivator's age based on their appearance, he was certain that this person was definitely younger than him. At such a young age, his medical skills would not be that good. It would be a waste of time. Bailey Hongzhuang also understood Lu Qiu's heart, so she didn't say anything else. "I wonder if young master can tell me the situation of your family's illness?" Lu Qiu's expression revealed a taboo and said impatiently, "Aren't you a doctor? You can diagnose it yourself. If you can't diagnose it, then don't waste my time." Chapter 7083. Lu Qiu saw that the lady in front of him had been silent all this while, and was rather puzzled. His attitude was already so bad, but the other party wasn't angry at all. There was indeed something different about her. However, Bailey Hongzhuang had just taken his pulse when a figure rushed into the room. "What are you doing?" A hand pulled Lu Qiu behind him. Then, everyone saw Lu Jin, whose face was filled with anger. "Father, why are you here?" Lu Qiu looked at Lu Jin in astonishment, obviously not expecting him to appear at this time. "I should be the one asking you. What are you doing here?" Lu Jin's face was ashen and the atmosphere was extremely tense. Lu Qiu was obviously very wary of Lu Jin and immediately revealed everything. "This lady is a doctor, so she wants to take my pulse." "Nonsense!" Lu Jin shouted coldly, and then looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen with an unfriendly expression. "These two people are of unknown origin and have nothing to do with us. Why would you want to take your pulse for no reason? Speak, what are the two of you trying to do?" Faced with the aggressive Lu Jin, Di Baichen had already blocked in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. "Senior, we just heard that Master Lu has contracted an illness and wanted to take his pulse to find a cure." Don't spout nonsense in front of me. These words might be able to fool my son, but it's far from enough to fool me. This is really our intention, Bailey Hongzhuang emphasized. Lu Jin snorted coldly. Don't think that I don't know what you're planning. Let me tell you, it's hopeless. With that, he directly pulled Lu Qiyu out of the room. Let's go. Father, Lu Qiyu was pulled away without any explanation and didn't even have time to say anything from the beginning to the end. In a moment, the three people in the room looked at the two people who had disappeared, and the atmosphere became rather awkward. I also didn't expect Lu Jin to suddenly appear. The attendant's expression was complicated. This was originally going to be quite smooth, but he didn't expect it to develop into this in the end. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand. Lu Jin's attitude was within their expectations, but it was much faster than they had expected. It's fine. You've done your best. Di Beichun took out a pill and handed it to the waiter. This is your reward. Looking at the pill in his hand, the attendant's expression became very complicated. Actually, I didn't handle today's matter well. You've already brought him here. Take it. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Who would have thought that you would be able to find him so quickly? That's already amazing. The attendant hesitated for a moment before accepting the pills. Don't worry, I'll definitely think of another way. No need, Di Beichun said. What happened today has angered Lu Jin. Lu Qiyu won't be coming over anytime soon. Don't go looking for him, lest you get implicated. All right. The attendant nodded and didn't continue to emphasize this point. He also understood that Di Beichun's words made sense. With Lu Jin's character, he would definitely be looking for trouble if he went over at this time. He might even be scolded and come back. That kind of situation, he didn't want to experience it. However, the guilt in his heart couldn't dissipate. He felt guilty for taking the pill. He could only try to help these two in other ways. Chapter 7084. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head slightly. Lu Jin appeared too quickly. I couldn't tell. If it was a normal illness, she might be able to tell in such a short time. However, this was a symptom that was difficult to tell. There was no way to tell. They finally found such an opportunity. It was such a pity that they missed it. Noticing the pity in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, Di Beichun said gently, "There will be another chance." That's true. However, we can't find a breakthrough on either side. Moreover, after this incident, I'm afraid that everyone will be more wary of us. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed faintly. Although what happened just now happened inside the house, such a big movement had already attracted many people's attention. In this small town, where almost everyone knew each other, the news would spread quickly. It would be much more difficult to find another opportunity like this. Di Beichun was silent. Hongzhuang was telling the truth. That Lu Jin really doesn't know how to appreciate others' kindness. Look at him. Most people wouldn't even bother with him. Xiao He was indignant. She was already very unhappy with Lu Qiyu's attitude. Lu Jin's attitude was even more exaggerated. They were indeed father and son. Ordinary people couldn't stand their tempers at all. It's our fault that we can't find another breakthrough. If we can find an apothecary, then we don't have to waste time on them. Xiaobai shook its head. It understood its master's helplessness. They finally came to the border of the crossing immortal domain. However, they couldn't enter it. It was really worrying. If it really doesn't work, why don't we try to bribe someone? Xiaobai suggested. It was too difficult to gain someone's trust. Between the two methods of coercion and bribery, the second method was more feasible. That's one way. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. However, the target of this temptation, I'm afraid we have to cast a wide net. Upon hearing this, Di Beichun and the two beasts looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. When the waiter heard that Bailey Hongzhuang was going to open a shop here, he was dumbfounded. Sir, did I hear wrongly? Are you planning to open a shop here? What kind of joke was this? These were two outsiders. They had never accepted outsiders. They had only stayed here for a short period of time, but they had already been rejected by many people. Now, they even wanted to open a shop here. Wasn't this nonsense? We don't have much to do now anyway, so we've always just gone wherever we go. The scenery here is pretty good, and the living environment is very suitable. It just so happens that you don't have any alchemists here, right? I think that if we open a pill store, the business should be pretty good. The attendant, who was about to object, immediately hesitated after hearing the last part. We really don't have any alchemists here. Usually, if you want to buy pills, you have to go to a place far away. Isn't that it? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. But you're outsiders. Don't tell me that you haven't had any outsiders in all these years. Bailey Hongzhuang asked. The attendant thought for a moment and said, It's not that we haven't had any outsiders in all these years, but it has been more than 10 years. It's not easy to be accepted by everyone. Chapter 7085. Hearing this, the attendant was slightly startled, but after he reacted, he couldn't help but laugh. He didn't know when he started to be considerate of these two customers. Perhaps it was because the two of them happened to give him the pills he needed, or perhaps it was because the two of them didn't have any bad intentions. After staying here for so many years, he had come into contact with some scheming people, but the feeling he had was completely different from the two of them. So, we just need to spend a little more time. Seeing the two of them in high spirits, the attendant didn't say anything else. If the two of you are really determined, I can help the two of you find a suitable shop. Then I'll have to trouble you. Bailey Hongzhuang said with a smile. Although they had made this decision, they still needed help to find a suitable place. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to find it by themselves. It's a piece of cake. Leave it to me. The attendant patted his chest, indicating that there was no problem at all. The two of them were originally full of confidence. Now that they had the attendant's help, it should be easier to proceed. Although many people didn't accept them at all, for something that everyone could use, there would definitely be people who would buy it. In this way, this was already a breakthrough. The reality was just as the two of them expected. After everyone knew about Lu Qiyu, the rejection of Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang became even stronger. Shopkeeper, these two guys are of unknown origin, and they are so interested in the Lu family's curse. I think these two are probably good at evil. It's best to not let them stay here. Our place has never welcomed outsiders, and these two are so strange. Why don't we work together and chase them out? You have to make a decision. Anyway, as long as you don't let them stay here, we won't let them stay. The shopkeeper's expression was very hesitant. I've already heard about this matter. Actually, the two of them didn't have bad intentions. He had already heard the whole process from the attendant. Although he felt that it was a bit strange, the two of them didn't have any bad intentions. He just didn't expect things to develop like this. Hearing the shopkeeper's words, the others all showed dissatisfaction. I say, shopkeeper, you couldn't have been bribed, right? Isn't it strange that these two people came here for no reason? Don't forget what we've always done. When Bailey Hongzhuang came downstairs, they happened to hear the crowd's conversation. Noticing their appearance, the crowd's expressions were still ugly. It was as if they didn't care about what Bailey Hongzhuang thought. Seeing this, they pretended they didn't hear anything and slowly walked out of the inn. From the looks of it, we have to find a place as soon as possible. Otherwise, the shopkeeper won't be able to withstand the pressure, Bailey Hongzhuang said. Di Beichen nodded slightly. He has already gone out to help us find a place. You should be very fast. We should be able to leave in about 2 days. I hope so. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Under such circumstances, it would be difficult for the attendants to find a place for them. Master, if we really can't do it, we can just build our own house. It's not like we haven't done it before, Xiaohei suggested. Chapter 7086. The situation was much better than what Bailey Hongzhuang had expected. It didn't take long for the waiter to find a suitable house for them. I didn't expect you to be so fast. It's really unexpected. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. The waiter scratched his head. This house is related to me, so it's very convenient to rent it to you. But you can see the current situation. Everyone doesn't approve of you staying here. Even if you open this shop, I'm afraid it won't be easy. It's okay. This situation is also within our expectations. After Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang saw that the situation of a shop was quite difficult, they moved out of the inn. The place that the waiter found for them was not big, but it was enough for the two of them. There was a shop front in front and a house behind for living. During this process, they became more and more familiar with the waiter and learned that his name was Shun Xuxing. If you want to make a signboard, you have to go to the shop behind the town and ask someone to help make a signboard. The waiter looked at the door. Since they were going to open a shop, a signboard was naturally indispensable. Thank you. Then you go ahead. If you need any help, you can find me. I have to go back to the inn now. After the waiter introduced the situation here, he took the lead and left. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Jiu also noticed that many people outside had noticed them moving here. There was a bit of sizing up in their eyes. The two closed the door directly. They were obviously not interested in finding a place outside to make a signboard. They didn't know what kind of cold treatment they would receive there. Therefore, the two took this opportunity to go back to the upper realm. Everything was fine in the upper realm. After Di Xiaofeng and the others returned, the Di family's hearts calmed down a lot. Di Beichun directly ordered someone to do the signboard and asked someone to help buy some necessary things. Only then did he go to the martial arts field. Since Xiaofeng came back, he is focused on guiding the family's disciples in cultivation. He comes to the martial arts field almost every day. Everyone likes him very much. Practicing martial arts has become the favorite thing of almost every disciple. Lin Yunqing's face was full of smiles. Seeing that her two sons were so promising, she really felt very proud. Big Brother is indeed very interested in this. I believe that with his guidance, everyone will improve very quickly. Lin Yunqing nodded slightly. I've heard about this from your father. Recently, everyone's passion for cultivation has been unprecedentedly high. Now, let alone in Emperor Cloud City, even outside, everyone knows how outstanding the children of our Di family are. That's good. Bailey Hongzhuang was also very happy. How's your recent progress? Lin Yunqing was also aware of Di Beichun's current plans. Even though she had only heard about it, she knew that this matter was not as simple as it seemed. Not bad, I guess. Di Beichun replied. We have already reached the border of the crossing immortal domain, but it will take some time to enter. It's definitely not going to be easy. It's going to take some time. Lin Yunqing's expression was gentle. Don't feel too much pressure. I heard that this is a very difficult task. Even if you can't succeed, it's nothing. Chapter 70-87. Lin Yunqing's eyes were filled with gentleness and pity. These two children were too outstanding, so they carried more responsibilities than others. She had always been a little distressed, but thinking about it carefully, this was actually a good thing. At least, the upper realm was no longer a world that could restrict them. When the two arrived at the battle arena, they saw a group of young disciples gathered together. Di Xiaofeng was on the battle arena, and below him, a large number of Di family disciples were standing in several square formations, looking like they were training in an orderly manner. Upon closer inspection, they could see that Ziren, Shangwan, Yingying, and the others were below at this moment, in charge of the cultivators in each area. It seems that you've adapted well. Di Beichun chuckled faintly. Hearing this voice, Di Xiaofeng, who was on the high platform, immediately turned his head and saw Di Beichun at a glance. His face suddenly showed a deep joy. Why are you back? Di Xiaofeng leaped and quickly jumped down from the high platform. After seeing the familiar figure, the other disciples' faces were filled with excitement. Young master, young madam. Di Beichun waved at everyone. Cultivate well. Almost all of the family's children, the moment they saw Di Beichun, their eyes bloomed with a strong brilliance. Now, Di Beichun was the faith in their hearts, the person they worshipped the most in the family. Even if Di Beichun rarely stayed in the family, the influence he brought was unparalleled. As long as they went out and mentioned that they were part of the Di family, they would feel proud from the bottom of their hearts. Yes, the loud response spread throughout the entire battle arena. It was just a simple sentence, but it seemed to inspire everyone present. Di Xiaofeng looked at this scene, and a deep sense of helplessness appeared in his eyes. He walked to Di Beichun's side and said, I originally thought that everyone was enthusiastic enough when I appeared, but with your appearance, it was simply like a drizzle. Don't you know Beichun's influence? He is the founder of the Dark Sacred Assembly. Bailey Yunyan chuckled. It's impossible for you to compete with Beichun in terms of influence. Alas, once upon a time, my status in the Di family was unparalleled. Forget it. When Ziren ran over, I heard that you put all your efforts into chasing after Yunyan. You didn't even spend much time in the family. Of course, your influence is undeniable. No one will think you're mute if you don't speak. Today, they dismissed everyone early and sat in the room to talk. It wasn't until Di Bei-chun explained the recent situation that everyone understood. From what you've said, this matter is indeed a little tricky. Di Xiaofeng frowned. Although he had already guessed that this matter would not be so smooth, he did not expect that even finding the entrance would be so difficult. In this kind of environment, it's not easy to be accepted. I think you'll have to prepare yourselves for a long time. We're already prepared. This time, we came back mainly to be the signboard. Di Bei-chun took Bailey Hongzhuang and smiled. You must have confidence in Hongzhuang's pills. Of course, we have absolute confidence in Hongzhuang. Chapter 7088. Di Xiaofeng patted Di Bei-chun's shoulder with a serious expression. This trip was actually related to the safety of the entire Di family. Even though he had already returned to the family, he couldn't help but worry. Bei-chun and the others' feelings should be even more complicated. We understand. After some small talk, Lin Yinqing and Xiao Wanrong invited them to have a meal. Then the two of them returned to the chaotic immortal realm. After returning, Di Bei-chun directly hung up the plaque. Immortal Treasure Pavilion. Looking at this familiar name, the two of them couldn't help but think of Gongjun. Not bad. This plaque is very impressive. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded with satisfaction. The Di family was really full of talents. This kind of plaque didn't need to be custom-made in Dian City. The people in the family had already helped them make it. Whether it was the size or other things, it was very fitting. Immortal Treasure Pavilion? What's going on? Could it be that these two are going to open a shop? This morning, we were still talking to the shopkeeper about finding a way to drive these two guys out. I didn't expect them to open a shop here in the blink of an eye. What are they planning to do? I don't know where these two people came from. I don't know what they are planning. Everyone should be careful. Everyone's expression was very complicated. They had almost made up their minds. If these two people didn't leave, they would collectively drive them out. The next day, the door of Immortal Treasure Pavilion opened. 3 simple and generous containers were ready. There were some pills, formation stones, and runes placed in the containers. These were all things that they had made. Presumably, the most popular among them should be pills. The demand for formation stones and runes was relatively high in the outside world, but might not be so here. Shun Xuxing came early in the morning. After noticing that the two of them had prepared everything, he was very surprised. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and explained that they had also opened a shop before. Only then did he understand. No wonder you can prepare so well. Shun Xuxing looked at the pills in the cabinet. The names and effects of the pills were written on them. He suddenly felt envious. The medicinal pills in this container were all types of medicinal pills that they needed very much right now. Almost any cultivator who saw them could not help but feel envious. Miss Bailey, your alchemist rank is already so high, you can even refine these pills? Most of them were pills that could help Radiant Sun Realm cultivators break through to the elementary immortal realm. Although he didn't go out often, he knew how hard it was to get these pills. Even if there were many alchemists outside, the number of people who could refine medicinal pills of this grade was also not many. I've been studying alchemy for many years since I was a child. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Shun Xuxing's eyes were filled with admiration. Putting aside his background, such an identity would be highly respected no matter where he went. I'll recommend it to my friends. I've heard them talk about these pills before. It's just that outside, it's often only possible to find them in auctions or other places. It's also a matter of luck. If they know that you sell it here, they will be overjoyed. Then I'll have to trouble you. You're welcome. They still owe me a favor. For 3 days in a row, no one showed any interest in the Immortal Treasure Pavilion. Chapter 7089. Say, what kind of store do you think these two have opened? I see that there's something in that container. I heard from Shun Xuxing that they sell pills here. That lady is a very powerful alchemist. Don't talk nonsense. I think that lady looks ordinary. If she's really an alchemist, why would she come here? How am I talking nonsense? Shun Xuxing told me very seriously. There are many pills that can help cultivators break through. They even have the immortal establishment pill that we've always needed. Even if they really do have it, it might not be true. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Bei-chun leaned leisurely against the reclining chairs, listening to the discussions outside with casual expressions. Jiang Taigong was fishing, and those who were willing to take the bait would take. What they had to do now was wait. No matter how long they waited, someone would eventually take the bait. Lu Qiyu looked at the open store and heard that Bailey Hongzhuang was an alchemist. His expression changed a little. There was a big gap between the status of a doctor and an alchemist. An alchemist's status was more respected. Father, that lady is not only a doctor, but also an alchemist. She might really be able to save our family. Stop daydreaming, Lu Jin reprimanded. If she really had such status and ability, who knows how many people would ask her for help on a daily basis? Would it even be your turn? Lu Qiyu pursed his lips. I'm just trying to make a Hail Mary effort. Anyway, death is not a matter of time. If you talk nonsense again, do you believe that I won't tear your mouth apart? All right. I won't talk about it anymore. Lu Qiyu rolled his eyes. In his heart, he still felt that the lady looked calm and peaceful. She didn't seem like a charlatan. Finally, the Immortal Treasure Pavilion welcomed its first customer. However, it was an unexpected customer. You actually have the Immortal Establishment pill here? The lady looked at the pills in the cabinet in astonishment. She came from Pingfeng City and naturally knew how precious the Immortal Establishment pill was. Even in other places, the Immortal Establishment pill was a treasure that people would fight over, not to mention this place where even birds wouldn't shit. However, these two seemingly ordinary fellows were able to take out the Immortal Establishment pill right off the bat. This was simply too unbelievable. Yao, I think this Immortal Establishment pill is definitely fake. Why are you taking it to heart? The man at the side couldn't help but say, let's leave this place. If others see this, we might even be ostracized. Ning Yao impatiently glanced at the man. Look at your useless appearance. I think that Lu Qiyu is stronger than you. Lu Qiyu was defeated by me. Then stop talking nonsense. Ning Yao looked towards Bailey Hongzhuang. I say, is this pill real? Since I'm opening my store, I'll naturally be honest. If there's any problem with the pills, feel free to look for me. Hearing this, Ning Yao couldn't help but glance at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang's words were very confident, and it was clear that what he said was true. All right, then I'll buy an Immortal Establishment pill. When she thought of Di Beichen's grace at the elementary immortal stage, she hoped that she could break through to the elementary immortal stage as soon as possible. This way, as long as they had the chance to meet again in the future, the distance between them would be closer. She vaguely felt that Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang might have already gone to the immortal region, and it would be impossible for her to meet Di Beichen if she stayed in the immortal region of chaos. Chapter 7090. Looking at the prices on the shelves, Ning Yao couldn't help but feel the pinch. Such a price was simply devastating. I'm being honest. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't explain. Since she was doing business, she naturally wouldn't make a loss. If this Immortal Establishment pill was in the outside world, it would only appear in an auction, and the price would definitely be higher than the listed price. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's unfriendly attitude, the man was a little dissatisfied, but Ning Yao felt that this was the right attitude. Okay, I'll buy one Immortal Establishment pill. Bailey Hongzhuang took the Qingquan bag and checked the blood spirit stones inside before taking out the pill. Yao, I advise you to reconsider. If you buy it at such a high price and it doesn't have any use, wouldn't it be a waste? They're outsiders. As long as they want to leave, wouldn't it be easy? The man's face was full of doubt. Such a price made even his heart ache. Then help me keep an eye on them. Ning Yao picked up the pill and walked out without saying anything. Did you hear me? I'll go back and test the effects of this pill. During this time, keep an eye on them and don't let them run away. Hearing this, the man nodded awkwardly. Okay. 2 days later, when Ning Yao appeared again, the man quickly went up to her. Yao, do you want to catch these two guys immediately? The man's expression was serious. Everyone wants to chase them away. Once we find out that they're selling fake pills, they'll have to leave their lives here. What nonsense are you talking about? Ning Yao looked unhappy. What's wrong? They're not selling fake pills, they're real. Ning Yao couldn't help but look up at the Immortal Treasure Pavilion with amazement in her eyes. At first, she was also skeptical. However, after trying it out, she understood that this medicinal pill was real. However, this made her even more regretful. Such a precious pill should be taken at a more suitable time. She didn't even feel that she was about to break through the barrier. She was just trying it as a last resort. After all, she didn't even have the qualifications to compete for this kind of pill in the outside world. What did you say? The man was also dumbfounded. This pill is real? Do you think I would lie to you? Ning Yao Yao rolled her eyes. It's a pity that my cultivation wasn't high enough and I couldn't successfully break through. However, the man simply couldn't hear what Ning Yao Yao had to say. All he could think about was that the immortal establishment pill was real. Yao Yao, you stay here for a while. I'm going home. After exhorting a few words, the man rushed back home without stopping. Ning Yao Yao looked in the direction the man left in puzzlement. She was too lazy to pay attention to him and went straight back to the inn. Immortal Treasure Pavilion welcomed its second guest. Bailey Hongzhuang recognized at a glance that this was the man who was with Ning Yao Yao. Noticing his behavior, she understood in her heart. I want to buy one immortal establishment pill. The man kept calculating in his heart. No, I want two. Bailey Hongzhuang took out 2 pills and looked at the blood spirit stone the man brought over. She couldn't help but frown. Sir, I'm afraid there's something wrong with your calculations. The man's expression was a little awkward. I want to discuss it with you. This shop doesn't accept credit. Di Beichen's voice slowly rang out. Chapter 7091. You could take it out and have a look. The man hesitantly took out a black stone and handed it to Di Beichen. This is it. I'll give you a certain amount of this in exchange. Di Beichen looked at the stone in his hand, and his expression changed slightly. Sure enough, the devouring spirit stone had appeared. They thought it would take a little longer to see the devouring spirit stone, but it was much faster than they expected. Seeing Di Beichen's calm expression, the man couldn't help but feel a little anxious. Don't underestimate this stone. This is a devouring spirit stone. It can help cultivators improve their mental strength. This thing's value can only be higher than the blood spirit stone. Let me see. Di Beichen carefully looked at the stone for a moment, then said, Okay. Hearing this, the man breathed a sigh of relief. After taking out a portion of the devouring spirit stone, he put the 2 pills into his bag. Before leaving, he whispered, Don't tell anyone about this, especially about the devouring spirit stone. Otherwise, not only me, but you will also be in trouble. Okay, don't take it lightly. This is really serious. Got it. After the man left, Di Beichen put away the devouring spirit stone. It's probably very difficult to not let others know. He glanced outside from the corner of his eyes. He noticed that after this man came in, there were already people outside who had noticed this scene. The news of the devouring spirit stone may be kept a secret, but the news of buying pills should spread quickly. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. The more familiar a place was, the faster the news would spread. Did you hear? Suyu went to the Immortal Treasure Pavilion to buy pills. I heard that the first person to buy was Ning Yao Yao, and then Suyu also went. Doesn't this mean that the pills sold here are very likely to be real? I wonder what kind of pills are sold here. Everyone was a little curious, but they looked at each other. No one went in first, and their minds are full of doubts. Shopkeeper, there are immortal establishment pills in the Immortal Treasure Pavilion, as well as many pills that can help increase one's cultivation. Now that everyone is a little tempted, who knows when they will go in? I think that Suyu must have bought a lot of things inside. Don't miss it. Shun Xuxing looked at the shopkeeper, who was a little tempted, and reminded him. The shopkeeper looked at Shun Xuxing helplessly. I think you trust them completely now. You even came to me as a lobbyist. Shopkeeper, it's because we've known each other for so many years that I don't want you to miss out on something good. You're accusing me wrongly. That's true. But haven't you noticed that everyone is starting to ostracize Suyu? At a time like this, it's best if you don't show yourself. Otherwise, you'll inevitably get into trouble. The shopkeeper sighed. In fact, he did not have any prejudice against these 2 people, especially after seeing that Shun Xuxing's hidden illness had been cured. He no longer rejected them. Shopkeeper, don't worry. Don't worry about me. Shun Xuxing waved his hand nonchalantly. I'm friends with them. All right then, I'll support you. How about you buy me an immortal establishment pill? Okay. Chapter 7092. Thank you so much for your help. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were gentle. You're welcome. I didn't really help much. It's mainly because you guys are amazing. Shun Xuxing smiled. I believe that after the shopkeeper uses this immortal establishment pill, you'll find out what you've been looking for. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes brightened. His words revealed a lot of information. The shopkeeper's transformation is all thanks to you. Di Beichen's expression was serious. Originally, they just made a deal with Shun Xuxing. They hadn't expected that they'd become friends. However, such a change was also worth celebrating. Lu Qiyu was even more moved after hearing this news. When he saw Shun Xuxing walk out of the Immortal Treasure Pavilion, he hurried over to greet him. Xuxing, don't you want to buy anything here? Shun Xuxing didn't deny it. Qiyu, my old illness has been cured. It's all thanks to Miss Bailey. When I called you over, although it was more for the pills I needed, I didn't want to harm you. Although I haven't seen her medical skills, her alchemy skills are really outstanding. Seeing Shun Xuxing's serious expression, Lu Qiyu nodded slightly. I know. Are you really not going to consider giving it another try? Shun Xuxing's brows furrowed with worry. Your family situation. If there's hope, I think you should give it a try. The two of them had known each other for many years. Although they weren't brothers, they were good friends. He didn't want Lu Qiyu to disappear from the world like his family. Lu Qiyu's eyes dimmed for a moment. Then he laughed heartily and said, I want to, but my father is watching me so closely now. Not to mention going in, even if I pass by in front, I may be taught a lesson. Why find a chance? I'll give it a try. Shun Xuxing nodded. Don't wait too long. He knew that Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang had come here mainly for the spirit-devouring stone. If they didn't find any clues after staying here for a while, they probably wouldn't stay here for long. Don't worry, I won't die so easily. Lu Qiyu chuckled, but his eyes unconsciously darkened. All the cultivators in the town seemed to maintain a mysterious tacit understanding. Although everyone wanted to enter the Immortal Treasure Pavilion from the bottom of their hearts, no one took the lead. Under such circumstances, the Immortal Treasure Pavilion was quiet for a long time. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen spent all their time cultivating, thanks to the many fruits they brought from the Immortal Treasure Realm. However, after reaching the elementary immortal stage, the breakthrough would become even more difficult. The time it would take to accumulate would definitely be much longer. In fact, the two of them didn't even know what kind of cultivation level they would reach in the future. They would only know all of this after entering the immortal realm. Come! However, the two of them, who were living a very leisurely life here, did not know that not long after they left, Xi'an City had also caused quite a commotion. A group of people suddenly entered Xi'an City. They were all very powerful, attracting the attention of the entire city.